Vibrate, silence, or offsetting, the Board of County Commissioners allows any person to speak regarding an item on the agenda. Speaker is limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise determined by the chairman to allow sufficient time for all speakers. Speakers shall refrain from abusive or profane remarks, disruptive outbursts, protests, or other conduct which interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting. Upon completion of the public comment period, discussion is limited to board members and questions raised by the board. This morning, Commissioner Underhill will bring the invocation. Commissioner Underhill, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's one of the interesting things over the last 8 years. We've had folks from all different religions, folks of no religion, come and do this, and it's an interesting aspect of it that we all have our own way to go to God. We all have our own way to look deep inside and get the best of us. So if everybody will please stand with me. This morning we'll do a moment of silence, and I encourage everybody to just find the best in you and seek your strength, seek your power wherever it comes from. So please join me now in a moment of silence. Amen. Thank you very much.
Please remain standing and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, are there any items to be added to the agenda? Madam Attorney.
No, sir.
Commissioner Bender.
No, sir.
Commissioner Berry. No. Commissioner May.
I think I do have some, but I think they've already been
distributed.
Did we get them yet?
We haven't gotten any down here
Well,
yet,
no,
Commissioner
I'll
May.
have some add-on for discretionary, Jeff.
Okay,
but I'll
very
have
good.
them.
And if you're not here, we'll get those.
I appreciate it, my friend.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Underhill.
None, sir.
Okay, and I have nothing to add. Wes?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, very good. Let's go ahead and start with a quick commissioner's forum. I know we're under the gun, and I know Commissioner May has got.
Do we need to adopt?
Yeah, let's do that.
Move that we adopt the
Second.
agenda.
Motion and second to adopt the agenda. Please vote. All right, the agenda is adopted unanimously. Now we'll move forward with Commissioner's Forum. We'll start with you, Commissioner Bender. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just real quick, our next District 4 neighborhood cleanup will be held next on Wednesday, August 24th. The boundaries south of 9 Mile Road, east of Jernigan Road, north of East Johnson, and west of Scenic Highway. Subdivisions include Mackey Key, Mackey Cove, River Gardens, Wood Run, Maribel, Bell Meadows, Shadow Trace, Cambridge Mills, Stillbridge, Mackey Bluff, and residents will get a notice in the mail. Also, just a traffic alert, we are rebuilding the traffic signal at Olive Road and Davis Highway this Sunday, dependent on the weather. So as a lot of people probably know, it goes into flash mode when there's a heavy rain or even just a little bit of moisture in the area. So we've done what we can to try to troubleshoot it, and we think that this is the best path forward. So mostly for most of the day on Sunday from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., they will be rebuilding that traffic signal. We do expect to have law enforcement out there directing traffic, so just please pack a little extra patience and know that that's if you can avoid that intersection, please do. And then finally, also congratulations to Melanie McLaughlin, Escambia County Emergency Communications Telecommunicator, on receiving the Telecommunicator Quality Performance Award from Replay Systems. Replay Systems reviews and evaluates the performance of Escambia County telecommunicators' 911 calls. As a result of a call that Melanie received on April 7th, she scored a perfect 100. Over the past 12 months, Melanie has had 56 quality performance reviews, scoring an average of 99.61. So I just want to recognize her for all that she does and the job well done.
Fantastic. That's great. Thank you, Commissioner Bender. Commissioner Berry, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Want to thank Clara and her folks for, it takes a little while after the cleanups are done to kind of get numbers back from them. But in July, we had a cleanup in Quintet, and once the numbers were tallied and everything, there was 27 tons of debris that was hauled out of Quintet, and that's all of these, I know Commissioner Bender mentioned them as well, but all of these cleanups that happen, they have a tremendous effect on those communities.
Yes, they do.
And I have other communities that lie obviously outside of CRAs that that are asking, and I think it's something that's that's important. I think there's a real return to, I think there's a real holistic and quality of life return to our citizens for undertaking these, whether they fall into CRA or not. So I think they're fantastic, and I want to thank Claire and her folks for getting that done for us. And Monday night, I had a town hall in Walnut Hill. I want to thank Wes and the majority of the directors and county leaders that came out and spent a couple hours in Walnut Hill with me at Riverton Community Center, and for a pretty lengthy meeting. And there were 3 or 4 folks from PIO out there, taping and doing that kind of stuff. So I want to thank them for working late Monday evening and helping me have an opportunity and a forum to get feedback from my constituents. So thank you.
Absolutely. Commissioner May, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do want to thank Claire and her group also for the cleanups in District 3. It really makes a difference, and so Claire, thank your staff. I also want to thank Carla Thompson and her staff for a very successful summer program at Brownsville Community Center and at Evanwood. So we know that we can't get to all of the staff, but Carla, please express our thanks to your staff. Also, Mr. Chairman, it's sad that Mr. James Brooks, a former deputy community activist, died. And on today, I think the mayor's here. It's good to see the mayor, but the mayor and I will be leaving here pretty early to attend the funeral of Rodney Jackson. We know Rodney was one of the first African-American commercial loan officers, worked with the Studer Institute, and was just a fixture in our community. And unfortunately, he was the guy that had the bad oyster, and dear friend, and will be leaving here to go to his funeral here at about 10:30. So I did talk with the mayor earlier, and I know he has an item that he'd like to get moved up because I think we're both on program at the funeral.
Yes, sir. We'll definitely comment. I didn't see the mayor. Where is the mayor? Is he here?
Yeah, he's in the
he's
back.
hiding behind Todd Humble's head. Okay, all right. There you go. All right. That's why I didn't see you. Welcome.
He's probably
to
trying to get Todd to come work for the city. He's only taking about 12 of our employees.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah. Welcome
Hey, the
to
joke
the
would be on
mayor.
him, though, because he'd still be working for us, though, right?
Yeah. Todd, don't make that move.
Yeah, so I think it's the ST, I think it's item 6, part 2-6 is the item, when you feel appropriate, if we
Yeah,
can move that
I'm
up
perfectly
further.
happy to do that and
you.
accommodate the mayor's schedule. We appreciate the mayor being here. All right, absolutely. Commissioner Underhill, you're recognized.
Nothing for the good of the whole.
Okay, very good. I just want to make a couple of statements. I want to thank staff. We've got a couple of projects that are on the cusp of being awarded, namely one of which I've been working for a long time is the Perdido Bay boat ramp. We finally got all the permits, got all the money together, so that's going out to bid. Purchasing is doing a great job. Longleaf is finally going to be awarded. We're going to talk about that in this agenda, but I do have to say, I have to thank Chris Phillips, his predecessor, Christine Fanchi, all the staff of engineering, the purchasing people. There's been a lot of money in that project for a long time, and a lot of folks have looked at it. We had multiple meetings. I attended them at Longleaf Elementary School. It's an area with 4 schools, atrocious walking conditions for the students, and so I really am really proud. These are the days when you get something done and you get something awarded that's going to really benefit a community. So the Bellevue community there along Longleaf, they're going to really benefit from that. And I also want to say I'm not on the ballot for election. So I feel as chairman, it's appropriate to say this, and I think it's important for citizens to know it. My personal opinion, you could disagree if you want, but I think it's critically important that all citizens of Escambia County show up to vote. Vote, particularly in these local offices. You know, everyone shows up to vote for the president, the Senate, that's great. But these local offices, your school board members, your ECUA board members, your city councilmen, your county commissioners, vitally important, and they're the closest elected officials that you will ever be near. We're the ones who make decisions that affect your life. So, do your research. I hope that you would do your research, not just go in there and go by a name or get the first one off the list. But we have an election this Tuesday, and in the state of Florida, they're very accessible. There's early voting happening right now. I voted last Saturday. Multiple locations. We have an excellent supervisor of elections. So I would just encourage all the members of the community. My last election, 32% showed up. 32, less than a third. This one, I hope it'll be better. But we need folks to be educated. We need them to know the candidates. And most importantly, we need you to have your voice heard. And so I just wanted to make that reminder. Wes, you recognized? Okay, we're going to move forward now. We were going to do a year of service recognition. That item has been dropped, so we will move forward. Did the clerk's office receive the proofs of publication for the public hearings on the agenda and the board's weekly meeting schedule?
Mr. Chairman, the clerk's office has received all proofs.
Move that we waive the reading of the proofs.
Second.
Motion and second to waive the reading. Please vote. All right, that passes unanimously. We're going to move forward to our public hearings. We have a 9:01 public hearing regarding the fiscal year 2021 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, JAG program, local solicitation. Do we have speakers on that item? We have no speakers on the item. Chair would entertain a motion. We have no speakers.
Move the meeting in the affirmative.
All right, motion?
Second.
Motion is second. Please vote. All right, the item passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Now we move to the Clerk and Comptroller's report. Pam Childers, you're recognized.
Thank you. In the essence of time, there's 3 items on the agenda: the July TDT collections, the forfeiture against unclaimed monies, as well as minutes and reports. Thank you, sir.
Move the clerk's report in its entirety.
Second.
Motion is second to move the clerk's report. Please vote. All right, clerk's report passes unanimously. All right, we are now up to the growth management report.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Commissioners. For today, we have recommendation concerning Falls Chase at Papstone. This is the final plat. Recommendation for approval.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I
sir.
believe that's in District 1. Are you all good?
I'm good with the first two, absolutely.
All right, move the item A through D.
Okay. Motion is second on number 1. Please vote. And there are no speakers on any of these items, gentlemen, just for your awareness. I appreciate you making the motion, Commissioner Berry. That passes unanimously. And number 2 is also in my district.
Yes, sir. Cahaley Ridge, final plat for final plat approval. Cahaley Ridge.
No
Phase
speakers.
2.
Move the second item A through D.
Second? Second. Okay. All right, we'll let Delana figure out which one of us seconded it. Okay, please vote. There was a motion and a second. All right. Very good. All right, that passes unanimously. We're up to item number 3, which I believe in Commissioner...
Monarch Place, final plat. Recommendation for approval.
Any speakers, Mr. Chairman?
No speakers on this item.
I move the item.
Second.
Motion is second on item 3. Please vote.
Horace.
Yes, sir.
And so engineering is taking care of all the drainage issues we have out toward Mark,
Yes, sir.
correct?
Yes,
Because I'd like to get an
Yes,
update on
working
that.
yes, sir.
All right, that item passes unanimously, and I want to take a minute to point out, Commissioner May, your leadership on this. I know there were some issues with the red clay runoff and some other things,
Yeah.
and I know you went hands-on out there, and yeah, I think it's a testament that we don't have a bunch of people yelling and screaming at you.
It
So,
is.
Thanks for your hard work on that.
Thank you, appreciate it. And we're
Yes,
trying to
Commissioner.
keep them from hollering.
Yeah,
so
Commissioner,
that's
we
why it's
have,
a
we have awarded some design work to go on, that's underway now in the Monarch, the older part of the subdivision. It's going on now.
Right on.
Good. Thank you, Will.
Fantastic. Okay, item 4, no speakers.
I move the item, Mr. Chairman.
Come forward.
All right, thank you, Horace.
Deal.
Motion is second. We already did it. We're moving.
Good.
Motion is second on item 4. Please vote. Oop, what happened? I'm short-circuiting the process. Thank you, Horace.
Chairman, just so you know, this is Heather Mahoney.
Hi, Heather.
She is our manager in official records. She is the second to figuring this out, so cross-training is important.
Yes,
We're
ma'am.
figuring it out.
Very
Mr.
good.
Chairman, let us reset that vote. It shows everyone else, but it's not showing yours, and I think it did something on your end. So we're going to reset that vote and start it again. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You want us to do it by hand? Would that be easier?
We can just reset it. It'll just take a second.
Okay. Well, we're going to reset it. Uh-oh.
Okay, we've got something going on.
We got
We can do a
something
hand
going on.
vote and move on to the next item if we
Okay.
want to do that. Sorry, gentlemen.
All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign? None opposed. Okay, so it passes unanimously. My screen went blank, though. That was item number 4 under,
The consent agenda, next item.
I move the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
okay, wait, do we have speakers? Hang on, give me 1 second. No speakers still on that? Nope. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the consent agenda. Please vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Passes unanimous. I think we need to take a quick pause just to make sure we got things sorted out with Heather and Delana. No, my screen's blank. It's a black screen. Doug, is your screen?
No, mine's working.
Someone,
Everybody's working except for yours, Joe.
Commissioner Bergosh, you said your screen is a black
it's a
screen?
black screen of death. Yes.
Let us see if we can get IT maybe. Hang on one
I
second.
thought I saw him here.
He was here.
All right, so gentlemen, just bear with me. We're going to go hand votes until they get this sorted. All right, okay, we're done with that. All right. Consent agenda, done with that. Okay, county administrator's report. Wes.
Yeah, Commissioner, there's 5 items on the technical public service consent agenda. Please hold item 5 for speaker.
Okay, yeah, we have speakers on 5.
I'll move the balance, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, motion is second on the balance. Car 1? No. No, we want. Yeah.
Yeah, unanimous.
So 5 is the only thing we're holding. We got a motion and a second on the balance. All those in favor of voting the balance forward, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign? Okay, that passes unanimously. Moving forward to car 2, we do have, oh, I'm sorry, we're on car 5. We're back on car 5 because we have Andrew Bluer who wants to speak. You're recognized. 3. Because we're not.
Andrew Bluer. I don't know where to go. I've called my county commissioner. I've called the interim county administrator to try to get some information on disability awareness or whatever. How do we get ADA compliance in Escambia County? Evidently, it's not working. We have nobody in Escambia County, code enforcement, Escambia County Sheriff's Department, nobody enforced ADA regulations. So I was wondering, can y'all give me a phone number or somebody I can contact in the county that will enforce the ADA regulations?
Allison, I don't know that it's our job to enforce regulations. I know that we approve the design and we make sure that new construction or remodel jobs meet with the, but who goes out and actually does the policing? I don't believe that's us.
I do believe there is some level of accountability from the building inspections department. We went through a little bit of this several years ago having to do with some local restaurants. There is some level of accountability there. There is some level of accountability about handicap parking spaces that goes through the sheriff's department. But generally speaking, our responsibility is for our own facilities.
That's right.
Oh, that's what this is here, disability awareness is just here in the county buildings, nothing in the countywide.
Andrew, it's an advisory board. They give us suggestions, ideas, and that's what
I like to talk to somebody on that advisory, see if they can't get somebody to enforce.
They're public meetings. I would suggest that you attend. Absolutely. And they're noticed.
I love that.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day. Chair will entertain a motion on item 5.
So moved.
Motion and second on item 5. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign? Passes unanimously. Okay, now Wes, car 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are 41 items on the budget finance consent agenda. Please hold car 2-1, 2-3, 2-6, 2-18, and 2-26 for speakers.
Okay. So okay, did you move the balance?
Well,
Okay.
I was also going to ask to hold 5.
Okay, we're going to hold. Okay, so would you amend your motion to include 5?
Yes, sir. I'll amend it to hold 5 as well,
And 19.
and 19.
And 19. Any others, gentlemen? Okay, we have a motion, a second on the balance outside of 2-1, 2-3, 2-5, 2-6, 2-19, 2-18, and 2-26. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign? All right, please show that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, 2-1. Oh, this, yeah, let's go ahead, gentlemen, without objection, I'm going to bring the mayor's item up first, 2-6, since he's on a time constraint. If that's okay, without objection, we'll go ahead and do that. Mayor, if you would like to come forward, you'll be recognized. Thank you. I'm discombobulated here. Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning. Grover Robinson, 4165 Baysden Road. Happy to be here this morning. I think talking to you all about where we are with Project Titan. I think we have a request for the funding in Project Titan. We're obviously about to be finished with Element 1. We have Element 2. I think this week, I know next week, Stephen says he's coming in town. Hopefully we're getting that signed and moving forward with contractor and beginning set up construction then for Element 2, which is hangar 3 and 4, which will be, combined together, but they'll still have the same amount of space. But that's what we're here, and we're here to talk about those items and ask any questions, and more than anything else, just say thank you very much for your participation. I think this is a great opportunity for us to partnership together and find something that is truly going to be transformative for our community. So along those lines here, mostly to thank you, but to answer any questions if you have any.
We appreciate you being here. Obviously, this is an arrangement that we made a number of years back, and we're going to, so far as I'm concerned, we're going to honor it. I appreciate everything Bill Hafner does over there and all the team at VT, ST Aerospace. I mean, you guys do great stuff, and I'm excited about the future of the project. And we're going to honor our commitments, so far as I'm concerned, for my vote. So
Move item 6, A, B, and C in the affirmative.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. We do have one speaker. Let's hear the speaker. We got a motion second on the floor. We'll suspend that. We'll have our speaker come forward. I apologize. We're having computer issues, so I didn't see it. Go ahead, Andrew. You're recognized.
Hey, Jeff, as he's making his way up, did we need any?
Grover, just to let you
Hang on.
know, this is Andrew Blur.
Sorry, did we need any direction on the benefits? I know that was in the, did we hold that one?
I believe that is one of the ones that we held. Let me take a peek. I believe.
Sorry, just making sure.
Yeah, it's 20. Is that 26? I thought.
38?
We did not hold
We
38.
did not hold 38? Okay, well, we'll find out if we need to. We'll go ahead with the speaker in this.
Okay,
item then.
all right. You're recognized.
Andrew Brewer. Grover, you remember when we had our meeting together that we were going to get my boat ramp on the North Perdido Bay? It didn't happen. Now you're here trying to take more funds from LOST. I mean, that was LOST funds, 2 funds that I wanted, and now I guess this is, what is this, LOST 3 funds, or what are you taking? I'm not understanding why Studer can bankrupt the city or whatever, and then
Sir,
the county
sir,
is...
wait, stop. We're talking about ST Aerospace. You're on a different topic.
It's LOST 3 funds, $2 million.
Yeah, but it's not, it has nothing to do.
$2 million out of LOST
Okay, all right, yes.
3 funds that we should have been able to have, it was feel-good stuff, like sidewalks, boat ramps, paving roads in District 5. That's what all that LOST money, LOST 1, LOST 2, LOST 3, nothing for this here. Why don't y'all use TDT funds or whatever for the VT Mobile Aerospace?
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, gentlemen, there's a motion, a second on the floor to approve item number 6. The chair would ask that we call the question. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Like sign. Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Now we're going to double back and go to item.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Grover, Mr. Mayor, one of the concerns that I've always had when I supported this was local minority hiring. How are we doing with that?
Well, I know that they've come to us and presented their stats. I think the biggest thing will be and I'm sure Bill Hafner's here, he could probably speak to that a little bit better, when Element 1 comes on, and that'll be the second hangar, what we have, we'll see considerably more. Now, I do know, I know what was brought to us, we looked at them, you have them by zip code, Bill, and I mean, it was like 80% of them were in that Escambia County area. Again, I've never said they had to all be in the city of Pensacola, but in that Escambia, Santa Rosa area, I think we've probably got 80% or so of more of those employees are in those zip codes. But so I know they've come to the city with that, and I know Bill.
Probably fine. Yeah, just share it with Wes so he can share it with us.
Absolutely. We can share. We can send you over that information. We'll be happy to.
I'd love to see it.
And I think we're really going to see a significant increase in employment when Hangar 2 comes open. The biggest thing that we're concerned about, we had the Chancellor of Education was in the other day for the meeting they had here, but we had a chance to talk to them about the need that we have for workforce training, which I think is, I know things that are near and dear to your heart, is how do we take people, especially those who have probably matriculated through schools, but would like to find a better opportunity, economic opportunity for them. I think that is going to be the real, the biggest thing that comes out of this. It's nice to have the hangars. It's nice to have.
So we've launched the workforce training program, I guess, with Washington and Georgetown?
We have that done. It's not producing near the numbers we want to, but I think there is an opportunity that's being discussed right now with the Department of Education from the state, and I think there are opportunities to get significantly more people involved because we have those. We're going to have those opportunities. It's not just about aviation here. Leonardo in Santa Rosa County, the same thing, is going to need about 100 jobs a year produced in aviation. Between ST and Leonardo, that's 300 jobs a year, not to mention what other things are out there. So Pensacola State has a lot of really good things going at this point, and they're trying to look at some things. So I think there is a possibility for us to produce find a way to get more people.
I mean, if they're not having kids go over, and I mean, I don't want to take up much time because we got to go, but we had 160 kids in our summer employment program. Many of them are looking for opportunities. So whoever your point person is, I wish they would get with Clara to start talking about how do we transition our kids into
I've got them right
jobs.
here. We can.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to take them time here, but I mean, Clara can meet with them and do it. But I just wanted to know that, express.
No. We can
My
absolutely
concern,
do
the
that.
only reason I'm voting for this money is because it's supposed to create jobs and opportunity for people that I represent.
We've got that, and we're looking for that absolutely. So we agree with you. And we do have an ADA person in the city who does the inspections. So I know we'll have, for Andrew's sake on that one, we'll have ADA in the hangar. So, but anyways, thank you for your support.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Look forward to talking to you guys.
May.
Commissioner Bender, I'm looking at what you were talking about, and so just parliamentarian, can we do a motion to reconsider just one item from the slate that we've approved?
I mean, maybe we can just discuss it. I don't know if it needs to be pulled back, but I think,
Yeah, I mean,
just clarification. It was the
38.
benefits, it was just explaining it. I mean, if we don't need to, we don't need to. I thought it was a discussion item, that's why I didn't hold it, but.
Well, at the last committee of the whole, she kind of went through.
Yeah. But anyway, real quick, Mayor, I know we had some questions about the tennis courts at Roger Scott. I know there's been development since we had our discussion, so I just let you update the board on that.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, no,
Please.
we obviously, we were looking for post-tension concrete, as you can imagine, in today's day and age of construction prices. When we got out there and found out what the price is, it was sort of staggering. We've looked at a couple of things that we could look at. We certainly, if you saw what was discussed on Monday, we're not asking the county to come back here. Now, I may have a couple of colleagues that sit on the TDC that may have different ideas, but I mean, we're not coming back to the county from anything from that standpoint.
For a minute, make sure it's good.
We're also looking at what other construction
Disappeared.
opportunities there are. I don't know. There seemed to be some discussion of whether you could float the concrete over the asphalt base. So we're going to have USTA try to come up here and look at a few things. So we're investigating a few things, but we realize what it takes, and we're not necessarily looking one way or the other to come back to you, but we do believe we'll have something going on that. Clearly, from our standpoint, we did not anticipate what the construction costs were going to do related to concrete.
And I would just say I think, and you know this, that it seems like the priority for us is to at least get the current courts done and then figure out what to do about new courts or anything like that, so.
Yeah, well, these are no new courts. They were simply trying to figure out what to do with old existing courts.
But we appreciate it. Thank you for the
Yeah,
update.
and Grover, if I might ask, so last time we talked about the topic of the tennis courts, and I know there's been developments, I know everything's got more expensive, but the city was going to de-scope kind of some of the things that they really wanted to do with the trees and the parking, and that was going to get us to the 2.6, but help me understand, because I hear what you just said, but you guys are moving forward with the money we've allocated, and you're going to get it done.
That is our plan, absolutely. One
So
way or
no
another,
more
whether we have to look at some different options, whether we look at floating it over a base, if that's engineering, or whether we come back and do something different. One way or another, we're going to do the hard course.
But financially, from this board, you've got what you need from us.
We're not asking anything more from you.
Perfect, thank you.
But
But I can't say that I have two council members that sit on TDC. I cannot say that they don't go there, but, you know, that'll be a vote for that board to take.
Gotcha.
And
Robert?
Jeff, I talked to the mayor about this the other night. I would want to vet the floating over the current structure, because if the base isn't good now, and this is what we talked about, so I'm just throwing it out there, I would rather make sure that.
Let's do it right.
Do it right
Yep.
than to have to do it.
Well,
I mean,
I can assure you that David Forte and Amy Tootle are very concerned about the floating, but we're going to investigate it. So we are going to try to get with the USDA to get them up here to investigate and see. So when you're saying what's happening, we are going to investigate all options at this point, but we may have to look at doing something different. But from our standpoint, I don't necessarily see him coming back to the county at this particular time, anything.
Because, Robert, didn't we take the assistance for the Roger Scott tennis coach out of LOST?
no, sir, it was ARPA.
Well, it's ARPA fund.
Yep, ARPA.
Lastly, speaking of ARPA, I think tonight we're going to hear something that REAP has, the lodges. They're the old Salvation Army that are a women's shelter. I think from our board, we continue to keep looking at how we can assist, and certainly we think REAP has done a lot of things, and we think that this is very important for where women and children are dealing with homelessness. But at the same time, I think there's some concern that this would be a really good opportunity if the county was looking at things with your $4 million that you were talking about dealing with homeless. I know we hadn't had a chance to sit down with homeless, but I do think the lodges at right there where the old Salvation Army used to be in dealing with homeless is a good option. And I hope if something can't be worked tonight with our council that this board may see how a way to assist them in doing good things to help find housing, temporary housing, and transitional housing for women and children.
Grover, I mean, the old Lions Hotel, which abuts my district in the city and the county, in my opinion, that's a real opportunity.
Well, I think if something like that could work, those are all things that if we could find a way to get somebody that was an operator that would want to do that and figure out what to do, we'd be more than happy to work with you.
Okay.
And we did get an email yesterday from Mr. Wibbs stating that there is a funding, their funding ended on June 30th of this year to run this.
Yeah, that was not county, that was not city funding. That was from the
Task force?
Opening Doors. No, the task force had no money. They made recommendations.
Gotcha.
But that came from Opening Doors money.
Are they raising their own money too? I mean, we hand them off to a nonprofit and they got to go out and raise money.
They're certainly looking at all their options. You're welcome to talk to REAP.
Well, we talked about it at the committee of the whole. I mean, there's billions of dollars out there for homeless funding.
Right.
I know that from what I understand, we're going after some of those grants, but the COC is certainly eligible to go after those grants, just like a city or a county can. So I would think Opening Doors would go after that. I know they've just gotten, I don't know, Claire, how much did they just get, 700,000? They just got another 700,000 from that funding source. So, I mean, there's 30 billion in which they can apply for that homeless. So I don't know exactly where we are on our application, Jeff or Wes, but I know we are applying for it, Grover.
All right.
We certainly will be. All right, gentlemen, so we're going to double back and go through just as the motion stated. We're going to start back at 2-1. We've already disposed of 2-6. Congratulations, Bill and Mayor. Let's keep that thing moving forward. Back to 2-1. I do have speakers on 2-1. We've got Kevin Wade, followed by, oh, is he gone? Okay. Melissa Pino. You want to wave in support?
I'm so sorry, Chairman Burgash. I don't know how this keeps happening. I'm signed on, I should be signed on for 2-1, or excuse me, CAR 3-2, CCB,
Okay.
and CAT 2-1 on Mr. Marino's hire. Those are the two things that I had written down that I handed out front.
Yeah, you're actually listed on CAR 2-1, but that's, no, she said 3-1.
No, CAR 3-2, the Contractor Competency Board. This time I wrote it down because I screwed it up so badly last time, and I handed it. So CAR 3-2, the Contractor Competency Board, and CAT 2-1, Mr. Marino's hire.
Okay, so
Well, in
you
that
don't-
case, we can move number one, right?
Yeah, let's move number one. Wait, I still have other speakers. We've got one more speaker on that. We've got Andrew Bluer. You want to wave in support? Wave in support?
People out there don't know what they're doing. I'm signed up by.
Okay. I move the item, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion and second on item 1. Please vote. I got the screen. Let's see if it works. Yeah. Did it work? Okay, the rest of you guys? 5. Commissioner Barry, did you vote? Hey, it looks like it worked. Passes unanimously. Okay, let me deconflict what's going on with, because what I'm getting from up there is not matching with what my screen is showing. So I hate to slow it down this way, but let's make sure that we're not going to pass anyone up. Okay. All right. Next item that I have speakers on is County Administrator's Report 2-3. 2-1. That's what I just called you for. We just voted for it. No. County Administrator's Report. County Administrator's Report. 2-1. No, 2-1. Anyway, that one's been voted on. Now we're on County Administrator's Report 2, item number 3, and you're signed up to speak on it. Do you want to waive in support, or do you want to speak? Okay. All right.
I guess I have to speak on both of them. Okay, why are we spending $278,000 on that when we've already spent, what was it? In 2014, we spent money for the flood assessment, and we haven't done any of the items on that 2014 flood assessment. I think.
Sir, you're speaking on, Andrew, you're speaking on the wrong topic. We're on County Administrator's.
That's 2-1 I signed up to speak on.
I called you up and you didn't come. You were on 2-3.
Okay,
Please limit your comments to that.
Start me on 2-3. Why are we spending $55,000 on this Perdido Bay estuary thing when we can save this here money? I mean, why are we advertising that? It doesn't make any sense to me. Everybody ought to just go out there and enjoy Perdido. That's what I've been trying to do, is get a chance to get people out there to enjoy Perdido. I mean, have y'all ever been to Fairhope and seen the sunset on Fairhope or something like that? Why do we have to go all the way to Fairhope to see a sunset when we could have a boat ramp on the North Perdido Bay and see a sunset? Why do we spend $55,000 for marketing when we could have something out there? What about the Perdido Kids Park, the Veterans Memorial's Kid Park we was going to have out there? No word has been said anything about that for the last 20 years now, about the North Perdido Bay Kids Park and the boat ramp. Nothing has been said about that. But we're going to spend $55,000 to advertise
He's talking about
the
the bays.
estuary.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm talking about. The estuary, it's a grant-funded thing. It's not.
Yeah. He's going to finish and then we're going to vote on it. You got a minute left.
It doesn't make any sense to me that we're going to spend $55,000 to promote something that we can't even get to. It doesn't make any sense. No sense at all. And Stephen Barry, I mean, you've been on the board, the dais, the longest time.
Andrew, I turned my light on to agree with you. So
to agree with me, what? That we should do something with the boat ramp?
Take that into account while you finish
and the kids' park? Okay, I'm finished.
All right, good. Thank you. All right, Chair would entertain a motion on.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with Mr. Bluer. However, apparently this advertising or marketing is a part of the mandated program. So so it's what we have to do. It's a piece of the grant, but like I said, I turned my light on to try to give you the indication I was gonna agree with you, and nonetheless, I still move the item while tending to agree with the comments from the podium.
Second. Motion is second on this item. Please vote. All right, it passes 4-0 with Commissioner May off the dais. The next item that we have speakers for is 2-5, and the following speakers are going to be recognized.
I held that one.
Oh, I'm sorry, I've got 2-6, 2-5. Yeah, you're up.
Yeah. I think we've given some direction from the board that we want a good operation at the library facility, and I know Todd's working towards that, but when I see $250,000 going towards vending machines, which I understand may help some of the efficiencies, I just have to make sure that's where we still want to go. And, you know, I know that, you know, there might be cheaper alternatives like lockers or something like that, that if we need to discreetly put something in, you know, it said you could discreetly get an item, but I think there are probably other ways you can do that might not be this expensive. So I just wanted to ask the board and throw it out there before we voted on it.
Sure.
And especially in the fact that it seems like they are secured when it's outside of when the staff's not there.
Correct, yeah.
So I could understand if it was 24/7 or something like that, but if it's secure when there's no staff there, then.
My understanding from speaking with Todd, these are going to be in a vestibule area that will be accessible, right? Do you want to come explain it for Robert?
Yeah,
you're
so
recognized.
Todd Humble, Library Service Director. On the locker capacity, all the locker systems out there hold just a small amount of items that each locker is assigned to an individual. And so you would spend much more money to have a similar capacity. And the lockers, it would be nice to have, this could do 24/7 access.
Right.
But because of the issue of people coming inside to sleep out of the weather, it's not something I think we want to take the risk on just yet. If the board has a different
What's the
comment on
usage,
that.
Todd? Excuse me, I mean, what's the usage of these self-service units? I mean, how much use do we get out of them?
Well, this will be the very first ones we've ever had. And the intention is the few items that we have the most use on and most theft on are DVDs. So by having those machines in essentially the equivalent of a red box machine, the patrons can hold them ahead of time, come in to pick them up, but the staff don't have to worry about something's gone missing. We get in the new movie from Disney, okay, we've got
But
this
they can't do
one.
them after hours, correct? I mean,
If we leave the vestibule, we have the design where at Bellevue we could be open 24/7, but we would have the risk of people sleeping in that vestibule area.
Our
So
closed-circuit cameras are going to prevent that we're going to add if they're not already a part of that project.
We do
Yeah,
have
I
a
mean,
camera in that area.
Yep.
So, I mean, we could,
Robert, I don't know where you're going. I mean, if people can't get them after hour, I mean, I don't know what the investment
But
is.
my whole question is, I mean, is this
The
the
cost
best
of
use
it.
of $226,000 for library? And that's my question.
That's a good question.
It's a good question. Todd, how many of these is this the first of its kind machine that we're trying to do here, or do we have these out deployed?
this will be the first for us. I may be wrong on, I think it's Broward that's got about 20 of these machines, and they've got them scattered between libraries. The brand we're looking at on the DVDs are actually manufactured here in Florida, and they are modular. So if we don't get a high use, the ones that I've got selected can be broken into two pieces and placed at two different sites. Or if
So
they're
these are
very
just for DVDs, that's all this is? These are
a single W unit is DVDs only. A different unit is basically a Lazy Susan style that's fully adjustable, up to 450 capacity each of the units. Two of them snapped together makes a 900 capacity.
Capacity of what?
Anything we want to put in there. It could be tablets, books, DVDs, if, you know, we've got the other machines for the DVDs, but any single thing can be put in there. When we have holds, there are some people that get embarrassed about asking for a certain topic. By putting them in these machines, it protects their privacy because the staff member pulls it based on a barcode. They don't know who it belongs to. They place it in the machine. The person from the public just comes in, scans their card. If they've got 6 things they've ordered, it'll dispense all 6 things, 10 seconds each, so they can come in and be gone in less than a minute without having to talk to a staff member or wait in a line. We do expect Bellevue to have 200 to 400 people in the building each afternoon, so there will definitely be lines. This will eliminate that for the people that are there just to pick up a movie or there just to pick up previously requested items.
So, I don't know. I mean, do we have a line at the main library ever?
Certain times of the day, I mean, I'd have to go back and look at the exact times, but roughly around 6 o'clock, we get a lot of traffic. Between 6 and 7, it's low.
I mean, I've been there a lot.
This
I've never
Bellevue
seen a line.
location,
I said, I've been there a lot. I've never seen a wait line for a long, long time.
It's not a long, long time, but we're not seeing the volume of people that we're going to have released from Bellevue Elementary, Bellevue Middle. We're not going to have a surge of 200 to 400 people coming in less than an hour.
Robert, do you have an alternative suggestion? I mean, it is a lot of money, and I recognize that. Obviously,
I mean, Robert, if you want to drop it and take a look and look at other systems, I mean, I could support that. I mean, because I do have some reservations.
it's a lot of money. It is a lot of money.
I mean,
And that's my, it was more the cost, you know, I mean,
what do you want to do, Rob?
Todd, do you mind we drop it and we get together the next week and see, and I'm not saying it's not a good idea. You know, I might be more on board if we split it up and put it at different libraries instead of all at one. And then that way we might, you know, but again, I know your budget's tight, and like I said, $250,000 on it. Just, I just wanted to make, and again, I think you've instituted some great programs, and but I just, that's it, so.
So you're moving to drop it?
Yeah.
All right, I'll second that.
Motion second to drop, and you and I will talk. We'll figure
Yeah,
it out.
Rob, okay. Todd, I'll be happy to get with you on it.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Berry?
Yeah, before we vote, and I'm good with that, but just something that, that Todd mentioned, Jeff. I mean, the elementary and the middle school have libraries, right? I mean, we're not basically subsidizing.
No. They actually have very nice little libraries, but
Okay, we're just expecting a lot of
Yeah.
participation. That's the gist of
Yes,
what you're
sir.
saying. Okay.
And we're going to have video game facilities. There's a dedicated gaming area. I mean, it's a really nifty design, and I can't wait for the grand opening, by the way, on the 16th of September at 11 o'clock. I got to plug in, but yeah. So we do anticipate a lot of those students will be coming by, absolutely.
What a great idea would be if the school system know that we're all taxpayers and their library should be open for the kids to go to. Yeah, after hours, that'd be a good idea.
So just real quickly, that number estimate is based on there are two other public libraries that are near a elementary or middle school campus, and they see between 10 and 15% of the population. If we see that many students at ours, it'll be 400 people.
Yeah. So we'll readdress the topic. No, Robert, thanks for the catch. I mean, obviously we want to be deferential to our directors, but if there's a less expensive way to do it, or maybe we find out this is the greatest thing ever, and that's why Broward bought 20 of them. It is a lot of money, so I appreciate that. We'll come back and we'll double back on it.
Okay.
All right. So we have a motion and a second on the floor to drop this item. Please vote. All right, Lumen. Okay, that passes unanimously to drop. We've already disposed of 2-6, so the next item we're on is 2-19. I'm sorry, 2-18. 18 and then 19. So 2-18 is a renewal periods for the maintenance of county boat ramps. We have one speaker on that item, Andrew Bluer.
Andrew Bluer, I wanted just to thank all you county commissioners. Everybody don't know that, but y'all increased boat registration 50%. And I'm not sure exactly what that's for. It's supposed to be for clean water, but you got International Paper or whatever is polluting 11 Mile Creek, and y'all not asking any contribution from International Paper, or Navy Federal Credit Union is polluting it with silt. You're not asking any contributions here. But here you got here, y'all using LOST 4 money, $132,000 for maintenance. And I thought LOST money was supposed to be for new stuff or whatever. I didn't think the LOST money was supposed to be used for maintenance, you know, like changing the oil in trucks and stuff like that. It's to buy new fire trucks and stuff like that with the LOST money, not to change the oil. So why are we using LOST money as maintenance on the parks and boat ramps? That should be some other general fund. So y'all moving the P underneath the cups, looks like. And I'd like for y'all to explain that, why y'all doing that. Because LOST money is supposed to be just for, you know, new stuff, like fire trucks, new paved roads, new sidewalks, not L&M.
Thanks. Doug and then Stefan, I think, wanted to perhaps weigh in. And just for everyone's knowledge, you know, when folks can come up to the podium and pretty much say whatever they want, but every item on here goes through a vetting. We each read about it. We see it. The staff looks at it. We have an attorney that looks at it and approves everything to form. So will we ever make a mistake? Maybe. But in this case, I don't think that we have. Doug, you're recognized.
Chairman, my intent is to move the item, so go
Okay.
ahead and take the staff members' conversation.
Stefan?
Just a point of clarification for the board. In the statute that governs the usage of LOST, parks that are built with LOST can be maintained with LOST.
I think you need to repeat that again.
Parks that are built with LOST can be maintained with LOST.
Okay, so there's your answer, Andrew.
And Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman, I'll jump onto that as well. It's important.
Excuse me.
It's important to notice that that's actually very good government. Otherwise, the LOST would have us building things that we can't afford to maintain.
And creating long-term liabilities.
Yeah, so a completely absurd idea that we would be building and building and building
With
no means to maintain the things that we build. So excellent, actually an excellent aspect of the LOST. So I move the item in the affirmative.
Second. Motion second, please vote. Item passes unanimously, which moves us to item 2-19. It was pulled. I don't see, do we have speakers? I don't see speakers on it.
It was, Mr. Chairman, it was mine.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if it's Rodriguez or Bart, one or the other. Hey, good morning, buddy. Hey, did you handle the procurement or did IT handle the procurement?
So it was a collective task with both of us.
All right, so when you're evaluating the, well, I guess I got two questions. So when you're evaluating the bids, so the Passio vendor, I don't understand what they're saying about their service, their maintenance for each year after the installation.
So Passio is actually the technology that we utilize for our scheduling software, as well as the web-based software for our maintenance. And the way that they actually utilize, so they actually will have their service on our vehicles, but they charge us extra for the Wi-Fi utilization for us to have it open and available for the citizens. And they don't utilize Verizon or one of the major cell phone companies. They kind of use like their own technology.
They don't care to do that, or they won't do it?
They won't. That's their.
They will not do that?
They will not do that. They only utilize their Passio technology. Because of course, I would like us to have an all-encompassing company that does it all for us. But with the document that's provided, if you look at the cost associated with that, that's what made us want to take this out for bid, so that we wouldn't be stuck with paying more money that we can utilize somewhere else in some of the other projects that we have available right now.
Okay, and and so you mentioned the second point there where it's out for bid. And I understand IT stuff is somewhat different, but so the Passio is one provider. I mean, it's just Wi-Fi services on the bus. I don't know how specialized of an industry that is, but I mean, we ended up getting the one quote from the vendor that we have, and then two other quotes. I mean, are those all the people that are out there in the industry? And again, this might be more of a procurement or an IT question than the operations manager of ECAT. But we did get quotes. I don't dispute the fact we got quotes, but for this size of an award, I don't really like to just get quotes. I mean, you would like to have bids, put it out there and have competitive bids come back ideally. And I don't understand why we don't do that. And it's this one topic on the item on the agenda today, but it's more of a broad topic with a lot of IT services.
Yeah.
We get quotes and we go. And it concerns me that.
So there are not other vendors that provide this service, Rodriguez?
So the actual problem with the transit aspect of it is that actual If you see there in the items, the cradle, that Wi-Fi cradle that goes on top of the actual buses and the actual mounts, that's truly the problem when it comes to trying to find other vendors that will actually provide the service. It's because of the actual transit mount. So yes, there are other companies out there that may be able to provide Wi-Fi services, but the transit mount is the actual problem.
So if you put this out to bid, you don't think you would get anyone that would respond to bid on it?
I definitely would. I could try that.
I mean, because I see where Commissioner Berry is going with it. I mean, we're almost sole sourcing it rather than competitively bidding it.
Yes, sir. That's
And that
understood.
doesn't seem like, as he said, the proper procurement.
Yes, sir. No. So what we'll do is we can drop this item, and we can push it. Y'all can drop it. We'll push it out and try to see if we can get with procurement and get a bid. But again, one of the biggest things as we perform our comprehensive operational analysis and we're trying to reimagine ECAT is things that we've said in the past that we'll provide to the citizens. Wi-Fi is one of those things that we haven't done in over 3 years, and we want to make
I
sure
mean,
that
I think that, I don't think you're having any resistance about
Yes,
doing
sir.
it. I think it's a service that's needed, but I think the question is the procurement.
Yes, sir.
Are there other vendors that provide Wi-Fi services for transit systems throughout Florida?
Yes, sir. There are. I think from my knowledge, there are actually 2 more that actually provide, but they're going to want to sell their scheduling software. They're going to sell those other items that, like Passio, wanted to sell that we've already purchased from Passio. So it'll be more of an add-on to the Passio service that we'll need to make sure is compatible. I mean, if we put a procurement packet together, we can make sure that if there is another vendor, that their service will still be compatible with Passio because we've already purchased Passio now.
See, okay, Wes, part of the problem is, and this is a fraction of overall.
All the IT stuff we did, we buy this, now we're stuck with them, and
Yeah,
we end up spending millions of dollars.
and there doesn't seem to be a lot of forethought to what we do as far as, well, now we have this, we're on the hook for so many years with them, so now we're stuck with this because this other system doesn't integrate with this. We had the other software system that the board took action 2 or 3 summers ago that, has become problematic, I guess, is a nice way to say it. There's been a tremendous amount of issues with the implementation of the programming. And, maybe there aren't any, any other vendors.
And candidly, this is small compared to some of the
Very
things that
small, yeah.
we've done.
Yeah, very small.
I mean, from human resources to, building inspections. I mean, we get this program and someone implements it, then it gets obsolete, and then we have to sell with this vendor, and then we have to change it. I mean, we need to have something that's universally compatible.
Have you been fooling with this, Rodriguez? I mean, is it a 6-month process or 3-month? How long have you been just conversationally dealing with it?
Well, I can say this has been a really lengthy conversation regarding to just the Wi-Fi, because we did before have Wi-Fi on the vehicles that we actually thought was. We thought that this Wi-Fi service was working. At that time, it was through another vendor. And about 8 months ago, it was, well, that vendor, that service doesn't work, and it hasn't ever worked. And so it was, well, why are we paying a monthly fee for something that isn't working? And so that's kind of what's put this out.
So is this a cost savings?
Well, right now, currently, this would be a cost savings for us to do it with this actual vendor, but we can try to attempt to put it out in more of a procurement process. We can try to see if we can get more bids, and we can try to get the lowest bid. It's just one of those things, again, when it comes to that actual transit cradle for the Wi-Fi, it's going to be vendors that I'm sure is going to want to sell more to us. But as long as they're compatible with Passio, we can make that work, and we can put that in our bid process.
Is the Passio scheduling stuff good?
Yes, I can say the Passio, the scheduling software, they work with a company. Passio is actually the umbrella company, and they have 2 other companies. OptiBus is the scheduling software company that falls underneath that umbrella, and Faster is the actual maintenance technology that actually falls under that umbrella. That all combines to give us this one big Passio. It's kind of the way I try to explain it to the staff is we have, I call it a Power Ranger. They kind of all work together to give us this one great superhero. So it's been working for us.
So what you have in place already, that's a good thing.
Yes, sir. Passio is a good thing for us.
But All right, and Wes, some of my point of, it sounds like this has been in process a long time. It seems like in that same amount of time, we could have done the procurement process the way that other departments do it, not the way that IT does a lot of their procurement, where it's just go get a quote, go get a quote. This is what this is what we have. The time frame, if it had been handled that way from the onset of the conversation, wouldn't have been extended. We would be at, probably the same point. You could have done all this in that time frame and had it where there wouldn't be any of these questions at the, at the board meeting. And Rodriguez, I don't have an issue with it necessarily. I don't know how, we've got a bunch of people riding the buses on a daily basis, and I'm sure Wi-Fi is an amenity that they would like to have.
Do we have Wi-Fi on the buses now?
No, sir. Currently, right now, we do not have Wi-Fi on our actual vehicles right now because the previous service that we had, it did not work. I know that there was...
So we stopped paying for that? We terminated
yes, sir. No, we do not pay for anything right now. No, sir.
So when did we get rid of the prior service?
March is when I sat down with the previous vendor and said, hey, we will no longer tell us what we owe, and we won't pay you all anymore because it's a service that's not being provided.
What were we paying?
I don't have the exact number, but it was in the 1,000 range of a monthly fee that we paid for our 42 vehicles.
Well, Lumen, I'm okay moving forward with it, but it highlights what I think a number of us have had issues with the way items come forward in the budget and finance related to IT expenditures, and I hope that point is made, Wes. I don't have an issue moving forward with it. I mean, I don't, I think sometimes there's a perception when you ask questions, you already know the answer. I don't have any idea. I don't know if there are other vendors throughout the state that provide the service. It's not asking a weighted question or one I already know the answer to. It seems like there's a cleaner and a more comfortable way, a way that I'd be more comfortable moving forward with it going forward, and I'd hope that point would be, taken
Yeah,
home.
I mean, either way,
But
I don't
okay
know much
moving
about
forward.
technology. I mean,
I don't
it's kind of
either.
not my thing, but I know it's not breaking technology to have Wi-Fi on a bus. I mean,
And there's work put into these bids, for the quotes that we're getting from companies. And I think if any of the concern is what has been stated previously, that, well, if we put it out for bid, that's different. They have to put a lot of work into putting the numbers together for a competitive bid. They already have these schedules that they can just put the quote together. Well, I tend to think that if there's something put out for bid and it's, 6 figures, somebody is going to be delegating to somebody else to put the bid together. So I think we will get participation. I think we will get responses to them. I'm okay, genuinely, I'm okay moving the item, and I know, Rodriguez, I think Rodriguez is doing a great job over there, and he's got a lot invested in trying to get this deployed for the riders, and I'm okay with that. As much as anything,
How long
wanted
is
to
this
have the
contract,
discussion.
Rodriguez?
So it'll actually be a 5-year contract, and that's the length of our actual Passio contract. And so it was trying to make everything just intertwine so that we can actually have what we need. Pretty much even with it's just everything is aligned. And I mean, I don't mind, and I know my staff wouldn't mind. We want to make sure that we do the best thing possible for the citizens and also the board and administration. We don't want to waste any dollars because we want to use our dollars for our transit system. So we do. So
So what's your recommendation, Rodriguez?
You know what? My recommendation right now, we want to take this back because there are questions asked about that. Go through the procurement process. We can try a little bit harder. That's ultimately at the end of the day what we want to do. We want to try a little bit harder to make sure we got the best,
Okay, all right.
best service.
Mr. Chairman, I moved to drop the item, and Rodriguez, like I said, is certainly no comment or indictment on your leadership. I think you're doing a great job, and I hear nothing but good things and efficiencies coming from activities over there, so thank you.
Second for discussion.
All right, motion is second to drop. Commissioner Underhill, you're recognized.
Thank you very much. Director Kimbrough, are you working with Director Siders on are you running the sales pitch past our IT director?
Yes. So we actually, that's one thing I can say about our IT department. They're so awesome having Mr. Jason Webb often there inside of our facility, working hand in hand with us, taking everything back to BART. It's one of those things where I can say it's been a great partnership working with the IT department.
Okay. IT salesman and solar salesman, You know, if you ever talking to these people, make sure you got your own nerd in your pocket.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Because it's all, I mean, it's so much smoke and mirrors. And a couple of things that you mentioned here, I'm really struggling with. I mean, but we don't need to make that sausage now. We're going to give you the opportunity to take it back and sharpen your pencil on it. So please make sure that you bring, at the director level, that Bart can help you be smarter on that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think you'll be fine, Rodriguez. When Bender becomes mayor, we're going to have a smart city and Wi-Fi will be everywhere. I mean, that's kind of where we're going.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor to drop the item. Please vote.
Also, Commissioner May, thank you for Mr. Brooks, Ms. Janet Brooks. She's been a long-standing employee there at ECAT, and just for the family, condolences to that family from our staff.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Rodriguez. You're doing a great job.
All right, the item passes
And
unanimously.
let me know whatever we're doing for the Brooks family, Rodriguez.
Okay. Up next, our final item on this portion of the agenda is item number 26. We have a speaker, Andrew Bluer. You're recognized. And this is the Perdido Gas Collection and Control System.
Yes,
That's this item.
Andrew Bluer. Yeah, I thought this was going to be our gold mine when, about 5 years ago, when we went in and we was going to go mining for all this natural gas, and we put out the money. And now we're going to come out and spend another $1 million or whatever. I thought that gold mine of gas, this sounds like Iowa ethanol subsidy or something like that. We're going to spend millions of dollars, year after year after year, recovering this gas. And it should be self-sufficient. If it ain't self-sufficient or whatever, then we just need to get out of the dump business or whatever. I mean, I bet you those ECUA executives saying, man, look at what we got going on here. Let's give everybody a nice raise, is what they're saying. And here we're subsidizing ECUA. Doesn't make sense to me. If the trash collection or landfill out there isn't self-sufficient, then it just ought to be shut down. Let somebody else do it. Privatize it. Because like I say, $1 million here, $1 million there, $1 million there, $1 million here, and then we're paying for wheels on trash compactors and stuff like that. All that $1 million gold mine we had out there should be self-sufficient.
Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion on 26.
Move the item in the affirmative.
Motion and a second. Please vote. The item passes unanimously. We've just been distributed some add-ons. Lumen, I know you have to run to a funeral. Do you want to go ahead and just?
I go ahead and take them, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, let's do Lumen's items right now.
I'm going to take them all here on individual. Yeah, they're just discretionary for Escambia High Boys Basketball Program, Pine Forest Basketball Program, West Florida Basketball Program, Washington High Basketball Program, Escambia High Football Program, and that's it.
So you got 5 items, 5,000. I'm going to match that. I want to put money into those as well.
All right.
So
One of them is 4,000.
One's 4, yeah, West Florida's 4.
4,000?
Yeah.
So what's the total amount you got going? 5, 6, 7?
Yeah, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I'll match it 1,000. I mean, I'm not as rich as you.
Good. That'll work.
I'll put $5,000, 1,000 in each of those items. Is that, you guys follow that?
Or, I'm sorry, I noticed that
I hate to do that. but I want to support
the
those schools.
Washington High School basketball is for 2,000.
2? Okay, great,
So
that's
it's
fine.
9,000 total, right, Commissioner May?
Okay, I'm going to put 1,000 to each of
In
them.
each.
He's getting
Okay.
1,000 each. Thank you, Jeff. I
Yeah,
appreciate that,
absolutely.
man.
I want to be supportive.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd also like to add 1,000 to Escambia High football, which would be 1,000 for mine, as well as West Florida basketball.
Okay, so 2,000
two.
from Commissioner Berry. Do you got
Yep.
that, Delana? They're awesome over there. Okay.
Yeah. Rob, you don't want to give anything to Washington, your alma mater? Oh, you went to PHS.
Hey, the light's coming on, man. The light's coming on. Nope, nothing. All right.
We tried.
So we got a motion.
We had a motion.
And Commissioner May, just to clarify your motion, it's just to move all of your add-ons in the affirmative, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then I have the adjustments from the other commissioners.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay. Do we have a second? I'll second it. Motion and a second. All right. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. And that passes unanimously. Okay, now we finally
Hey.
get to move to the next
Yeah,
section.
sorry, Jeff.
Yes.
I didn't know if we need any update from 38.
Oh, did you want to? We can.
Again, I just,
we had the discussion during, and, you know,
Right, but so I think we did end
Crystal,
up
do you want
going
to
with
come
it.
forward? We'll have
Yeah.
Crystal come forward, just if you
Okay.
want to. Yeah, before we
Yeah.
move forward. Let's do
No,
it.
I mean, I just want to be clear, that we did change dental providers.
Yes.
But I think everything else is staying the same.
Yeah, and we've already voted on the item, but that's fine,
Yeah.
yeah.
And Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, Robert,
Yes.
I certainly would love to hear them. But if there's any other action items that you need to vote on, I'd want to move that before this because I only got about 10 minutes.
Yes, sir.
And I got to get out of here.
Yes, sir,
right.
totally. You want to come back to this, Robert, at the end?
I mean,
I
would
don't
you mind
need
coming back
to.
to
If
it?
anybody needs anything there, I know we got him here.
Crystal, I'm
so-
sorry, we brought you up.
Yeah,
I'm
I
good
mean,
to
no,
go.
let them just stay there here, but I mean, if there's things you need me to vote on, I just want to go
Well,
and get that out the way.
here we are. We're up to CAR 3, discussion items. We've got 2 items on there. One's going to be a longer discussion item, so the second item is, well, they're both long discussion items.
Okay.
So we're going to go ahead and skip over those discussion items, and now we'll go to the county attorney's report. We've got an interlocal agreement for Escambia County. This is an easy one for the teen court. Chair would entertain a motion on that one.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion and second on teen court, please vote. Okay. Okay. And what happened? There it goes. It passes unanimously. Okay, so we've taken care of that one. All right, Lumen, the last thing,
We've got an action item for the LAP funding.
Yeah, we got a speaker.
yeah, we do. We got a speaker on it. Eric Sharplin, item 2. Do you want to, you got 3 minutes, or you waive in support, whichever? No, this is for the LAP agreement for our traffic management center. Is that what you thought it was?
No, I thought it was the one about the.
Okay, we'll add you to that one.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, good. So Chair would entertain a motion on item 2.
Move the item.
Motion and second, please vote. And this is a huge project. This is getting us a step closer, so this is big. And that passes unanimously. Okay, so we'll go to the employment agreement. There are speakers. Is it, Lumen, obviously, do you want to stay for this one? Okay, so we do have 3 speakers. Obviously, this would be a good time for folks to wave in support, but if we want to speak, we're going to start with Larry Downs Jr. This is for Administrator Marino's contract. That's where we're at right now.
Yeah, I'm in support of approving this to go ahead and move Wes into that position permanently. That's what this is for, correct?
Yes, it is. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And because he does make decisions, I'm assuming he makes some decisions for our staff and for our different departments. I would like to request that in the future, that basically we don't do directives to citizens. In other words, I don't think government administrators, elected officials, should be given directives. Directives such as personal health directives, meaning get vaccinated, wash your hands, social distancing, wear a mask, that type of stuff. So in the future, I would prefer that you treat adults like adults. A parent-child situation tells them to sneeze into their sleeve, tells them to wash their hands. I mean, adults know to do that. We don't need to spend our money printing off forms saying, wash your hands, little children. We're adults. And I'm sure the staff would like to be treated like adults in the future, even though they weren't for a good while. So that's my only advice moving forward.
Fantastic.
Check with your doctor if you want to get a medical procedure. Don't be listening to government.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Eric Sharplin, you're recognized. You can always wave in support.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to come up and say that I think this is an excellent choice, making
sir.
him the permanent administrator.
Okay.
He seems like he's a very humble man. He's a quiet man, and as long as he don't make decisions like the last administrator does, that got us up in trouble, I'd like to see him lead our county for 2 or 3 years. I'd like to see an administrator stay 2 or 3 years, and y'all don't have to go through all these searches.
Amen.
So I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, absolutely. Kevin Wade, you can wave in support, or you can speak. We always look kindly on folks waving in support unless you are opposed.
Oh, no, I am not opposed.
Okay, you're recognized.
Absolutely not, sir. Kevin Wade, 413 Southeast Boblet. So about 30 years ago, I'm here. I'm teaching students how to scuba dive, and I'm teaching Creek Indians from the local tribe firefighters, and I'm teaching them rescue. And we're sitting and talking, and I'm like, this is an amazing area. Tell me about it. And they say, well, Kevin Wade, let us tell you about Escambia County. And these men and women knew quite a bit about Escambia County, and Wes Marino's name came up, and they had amazing things to say about you, sir, back then. And seeing where you are now, good for you. Absolutely amazing. Your institutional knowledge here, good for you. Yeah, I sitting through the administrator search process and all of those meetings. It was hard to evaluate all of these people that were coming. And over again, what came to mind was that person from Massachusetts ain't gonna be able to pick up and deal with Escambia County in a reasonable amount of time. So, and yeah, there are, I know you treat people like adults. I know you can treat the children like children. I hope to see you continue, and, you know, maybe we got some boards that need to be treated harshly, like adults. So, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mel Pino, waving in support?
Sorry, now that Commissioner May had to go, I think that Kevin missed that you guys were trying to do this quickly so that Commissioner May could vote on it.
That was the
But
plan.
He's gone now, so the first thing that I want to say, Melissa Pino, 413 Southeast Boblet, says, Mr. Marino, I am so sorry that back in the day, I thought you were involved in cutting those trees down. And I never did stop trying to get to the bottom of it, and I finally did. I know which commissioner's aide made the calls. I know how the calls went in. I know everything that happened that day, and I had apologized to you before this personally, but I just did want to say that publicly. And I wanted to provide a little bit of a counterbalance. They've been melting down over on ECW for 2 weeks now on this, doing their thing that Kevin and I called necro posting, which is dragging a post from the Wayback Machine. And they got to do that these days because they got to remember the days when they still had relevancy for what happened with the county.
They never did.
Well, they used to pull some votes, but they can't anymore, so they've got to sit online and screed. And been there, done that. Don't worry about it. Nobody cares about that side anymore. Nobody cares about their opinions and their nasty comments, Mr. Marino. And so I just wanted to say that I also fully support this. I was lobbying for Janice Gilley to get the job at the county. I was super excited about her tenure. And the reason is for the same thing that Kevin said. We had a lot of mess going on. And this doesn't just go back to Janice, in my opinion, may not be a popular opinion. Our messes started when Jack Brown was looking out for number one to get his high five. Strong leadership doesn't walk out the door and then everything falls down like a house of cards. And then, of course, Amy Lavoie got thrown under the bus. Matt Coughlin got thrown under the bus. So Wes is dealing with years of cumulative mess, and I was scared of him becoming interim. I didn't want it because at that time I did think that something had happened with the trees with your awareness, and so I'm like, great, the guy that cut my trees down or the guy that ruined my shoreline. I'm so grateful you took the job, and I'm really impressed. I'm just not speaking for myself. This is how the people, I talk to a lot of people, everything that you've cleaned up. I really hope you continue to clean it up, because this hasn't gotten a lot of notice, but Kate Kinney and Leon Salter got their charges dropped last week. Innocent, perfectly innocent people that went through all of that for nothing and got no assistance from anyone in the county. So please keep paying attention to those types of things and fostering a good work environment for the staff. The morale's
Thank you.
improving. It's got somewhere to go.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, there are no further speakers. I want to thank Allison Rogers for taking the time and the effort on a short amount of time to put together the contract. And at this point, I would open it up for discussion from the board, or the chair would entertain a motion on this item.
Mr. Chairman, I move the item.
I'll second it. Further discussion. Commissioner Underhill, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I discussed during the COW, I'll be unable to support the action of bringing Wes on as the full-time commissioner or administrator, because we do have minimum standards. Those standards were set out, and we were seeking candidates that met those criteria. And then to throw out those criteria in their entirety is really just bad business practice. So while I certainly have a lot of respect for Wes's internal knowledge and history, and the value of his experience inside the organization is great, at this level with an executive, experiences outside of the organization are equally valuable. Education outside of this very insular organization are also valuable, and we are skipping the opportunity to bring in those new ideas and those skill sets by essentially skipping the process or tossing out the process of the nationwide search. Thank you.
Thank you. And Doug, if we were hiring Wes off the street, I think those comments would have a lot more relevance. But this is a gentleman that's worked here 35 years, and we've known him. He's done the job for the last 14 months, and frankly, he's knocked it out of the park. I won't use an expletive, but I'll say he kicked butt, and he's got a lot of hard decisions to make, and he makes them every day. And look, you show up to work, you're decisive, and you follow the rules, and you have a work ethic. What more can you ask for? And I'll just say this, Doug, I've known a lot of people with master's degrees, even some with PhDs, and I'll just say this, sometimes they're paper tigers, but I know this, when you got 14 months of a track record, and a guy who has the respect of the staff and the respect of the citizens, I think we're fortunate he's willing to take it. And I'll be very, very proud to sign this contract after this meeting if this vote goes the way I think it will. Commissioner Bender, you're recognized.
Thank you, Commissioner Burgash. I would say that I know that there were a number of other vacancies throughout the state for administrators, one being Walton County, which I think threw out their entire batch of applicants. My understanding is Seminole County did the same thing. There were, out of the tier 1 and tier 2 that we got, there would have been 2 that I would have talked to.
Me too.
It was the first one and the last one, and that was out of tier 2. And again, so I think it does have something to say of what's occurred in the last 14 months, and that, again, we've seen from other counties that they've gotten similar results that we got for our candidate pool. And I'd say probably most of them would have moved sooner to make Wes a permanent one. But we went through the process. As I said, no one really stood out. I'm sure they're all fine, but I think there were only about 3 that had Florida experience, which I think is important. So I think this is the right decision.
Thank you very much for those comments, Robert. And that's a great thing to say, because a couple of years back we did this and we had over 100. And we had people that were running cities of nearly 1 million wanting to come work in Escambia County. The world has changed since then, and like you, I didn't want to say it because I didn't want to be mean, but I didn't think the slate of candidates they brought forward was very strong. I don't think there was any that had a experience running an organization as large population-wise as ours. There was a lot of cities, townships, but be that as it may, I do appreciate you letting the folks know. Walton County, they dropped their slate. Seminole County, other people have done the same thing. It's not like we're doing this. We're trying. We're trying to do the best we can, and we got to find the best person. And I think we've done that if we make the right vote. Stephen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Having been fortunate to serve my constituents for nearly 10 years, Wes, as I mentioned at Town Hall the other night, I mean, it's a challenge having such a large geographic district, and what that requires is that, my number one focus be, putting product on the ground, the transportation and issues in the entire district, as well as drainage issues as they're, becoming more and more of an issue from kind of Muskogee Road south. Over these years, I wouldn't have been able to produce or put product on the ground in the way that I have without your help well before last summer, which is why I was so confident and supportive of you taking the position last summer. Proud of what you did, the work you did prior to that, and proud of what you've done in the last 13 or 14 months since then. And look forward to the next few years working together.
Thank you. Seeing no more lights, Chair would entertain a motion. I'm sorry, Chair would call the question. We got a motion and a second already. All right. The item passes 3-1. Congratulations, Wes. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And of course, you're recognized. We're certainly going to let you give some words.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is an honor to sit in this seat. It's an honor to lead this organization. I love this organization. I feel like I've grown up in this organization. Coming on board at 21, I thought I was all grown up then. And as I look back now, I was at Road Department not too long ago, and I saw a young kid walk across. I said, he's a kid. He goes, oh, he's 21, 22. I said, well, I guess that's how I looked back in the day. But a lot of good experience. I made a lot of good relationships here in this organization. I love this organization. I love the work we do. I love public service. I love being able to help citizens, back in the day, whether it be just fixing their driveway, or maybe it's a sweet little old lady just needs somebody to talk to that comes out and wants to tell you what her concerns are, or sometimes you can help, sometimes you can't, but you can always be polite, and you can always make somebody's day a little bit better. And I think as public servants, that's kind of the attitude we should have. How can we make somebody's day better, whether it be a kind word or whether it be providing a service? And I'm extremely honored to be selected for this position, and I thank y'all. And I want to thank all the employees and all the directors. You've been great. We have some great employees, have great directors, and I'm excited as we move forward. I told somebody yesterday, I said, it's been a tough year, but we're fixing to level out, and we're fixing to fly, and that's what we're fixing to do. So thank y'all.
Thank you, Wes. Fantastic. All right, now we got to go backtrack a little bit. We're going to go back to our discussion items, which I believe will elicit some discussion. So we'll start with discussion 3, car 3. We'll start with our discussion about domes and the location. Wes, do you want to set the table, and then we'll bring Dan Schiebler up?
Yeah, it was committee of the whole last week. There was some discussion regarding domes and the location of the medical examiner's new office. And I think the way we left it, there was going to be some meetings or some further discussion that some of the board members were going to have. And then we're going to take it up today. Today, Mr. Schiebler is here to answer any questions or provide any information y'all may need to help further this discussion along.
Sure. Dan, thank you for sitting through our meeting. I apologize you had to endure that. You've sat through a few yourself, I know.
I'm familiar, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, anyway, you're recognized. Thanks for being here, and what would you like to tell this board?
Well, thank you for the time. I'm sorry I couldn't be here last week. I was in Santa Rosa County last week. I feel like I'm Henry Kissinger in shuttle diplomacy back and forth between the counties. I'm not very good at it, but I'm trying. This is a very important project. I appreciate the comments last week at the Committee of the Whole, where this board recognized the need for the project and the need for the facility, that we're over capacity, and that there is a time factor involved. Our leases do expire, One of the critical factors is just cooler capacity, quite frankly. We talked about that in the past. And we're going to be up against that probably in the next 6 months to 9 months, and we'll have to come to a solution for that. The meeting on July 20th, Senator Broxton chaired. Commissioner Berry was your representative, along with Debbie, Representative West, and Eric Gilmore is your appointed DOMES board member that oversees our day-to-day operations. They were all there. Senator Broxton asked for 2 things for each board to take back, each county to take back to their boards for consideration. The first one was location. Would the Board of County Commissioners in each county support locating the facility in Santa Rosa County? That was one question. I think based upon the discussion we've had here, there's a desire of this board to have some additional due diligence done to look at some sites that had not been brought to the table till that meeting on July 20th. There was Sacred Heart Hospital mentioned somewhere on that campus. I think our current location, I mean, we can explore anything, expanding at that current, in our current facility there, but I think also looking elsewhere on the campus, Commissioner Berry raised as a possibility. And then this other option was Baptist on East Street site as a potential location. Those have not been explored with any due diligence, and I'm here today to recommend that we go forward with a site assessment. That's not been part of this project. It was proposed over a year ago that Santa Rosa County would be the site, and land was offered in Santa Rosa County. That has changed, and so we continue to press ahead looking in Santa Rosa County, because that is where the growth is occurring and where 50% of the cases are is east of Escambia County. But I understand the desires and intention of this board is to explore these other options here in Escambia County. And I have a task order ready for our consultant that is under contract to look at those 2 sites and the proposed site that's in Santa Rosa County, and bring that back to this board, bring that back to the DOMES board, and bring it back to you all in a timely manner.
Yes, sir. You know, and it's a tough issue because, you know, the expenditure of millions and millions of dollars in a county outside of Escambia County, you know, that's a tough pill to swallow. And some of the other issues that you and I have discussed, and Dr. Oleski have discussed, is, you know, Walton County, and, you know, there have been different proposals about how to split the costs, and I don't envy you. You have a difficult task, shuttle diplomacy all the way to Walton County. I want to be supportive, but it has to be something that this board supports as well. So with that, I will recognize Commissioner Berry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Dan, thank you for being here. And those are a couple of the issues that I raised, you know, a few weeks back when we met in Santa Rosa County. And, you know, I mentioned last week that I think that those 2 options are certainly worth pursuing and need to be pursued before we get too far down the path with our taxpayer dollars. Took a little bit of work. Was hoping to perhaps have some more conversations before today, but I do have a meeting next Wednesday, the 24th, that's on the books to out on the property to discuss what some of the options may be at Sacred Heart. And I will, you know, I believe we're together again the Thursday after that, maybe September 1st. And, you know, at that time, I would expect to bring back some of the feedback from Sacred Heart. I don't know about the task order, or, you know, how much DOMES is going to be expending on that. You know, if there's a possibility, there's a possibility. If there's not a possibility of moving forward with it, then, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that, I don't know if you can just wait until maybe we have that conversation before we issue somebody a task order to look at due diligence, if we're going to end up getting feedback, you know, from leadership that there's, you know, that there is no possibility of anything on campus. Well, then that's kind of that. I can discern that information from a meeting for free and bring back here rather than paying somebody. And now the Baptist issue, I realize there may be some, you know, maybe some things going on with their campus or their brick and mortar that's on the ground that I'm not as, you know, not as intimately familiar with. But I do think some folks on our board may be able to run down those possibilities as well. But I think we're together on September 1st, and what I would expect is to have some feedback from my colleagues in 2 weeks.
Sheila, does that timeline that Commissioner Berry just laid out, would that slow you down too much in terms of execution of that task order?
No, sir. I mean, I think that's, I don't have a DOMS board meeting until next Wednesday, so I can't get a task order approved by my board until after your meeting, sir. So I'll wait to hear how that meeting goes. And I'm just looking, what direction or what criteria would rule those two possibilities out. I mean, I think I've had some exploratory conversations with Baptist at the vice president level and downloaded their RFP, and I don't see quite how this project fits. I know the city made a separate deal with Baptist for 2.5 acres for a park. That might be a possibility, but I haven't asked those questions. I'm willing to pursue those if that's something this board would like.
Okay. So having said that, it seems that Commissioner Berry's logic makes very good sense. Let's find out if there's even something to analyze before we pay somebody to analyze it. It would seem logical. So then the comments that I would like to make, there's certainly, we know the things that we're conflicting on. There are some things that I want you to know that make a lot of sense to me. Geographical location that supports the largest number of citizens the best. That should be the dictating idea about where it is. I would hope that that any discussion of having multiple facilities would be worked very hard against. We will see there will be a degradation of services and increase of costs. So both sides of the equation that makes for bad government if we go that route. And then the part that I really liked about Senator Broxton's proposal is it followed a statesmanship logic that, much like the Great Compromise that gave us a bicameral House, right? There's a certain amount of the base cost that's spread equally across the 4 counties served, and then the remainder spread out based on usage. It's a little more complex, but that's a tried and true method of compromise in the United States. So hopefully that continues to get traction. I thought Senator Broxton did a good job of bringing that forward. So,
and that's the second ask of from that meeting was the funding plan. Would that proposal be something this board would entertain? If not, is there another alternative that would be better or should be considered by the other counties? 2 of the 4 counties have approved that proposal. A commitment to that funding plan that Senator Broxton laid out. Walton County did not. They did commit to Santa Rosa County as being a good location, as that's a little more central and serves the population of the district. It is a regional facility serving 800,000 people across the district. So 2 of the 4 counties have agreed to that plan for Escambia County. Excuse me. That is somewhere in the range. There are still variables to be negotiated and worked out over time. Obviously, the design is going to take 9 to 12 months, and final funding decisions can, await that and be worked during that period of time. But for Escambia County, that is somewhere between 26 and 36%. We've talked about when this initially came up a year and a half ago, we were talking about funding it on the operational split, and then the Santa Rosa County said, we have land available. We looked at another alternative to lower the cost for Escambia County, and an idea was floated to equally split the costs. That came from a Santa Rosa County commissioner. That was carried to the 4 counties, and we didn't get agreement. And in all of these cases, there were never any board votes. It's been a presentation and a discussion and a consensus of the board in discussion, but no votes. And I think that's what Senator Broxton was pushing for, and I think Chairman Bergosh mentioned last week at the COW that there's a time constraint here, and it's time we need to start moving and to make those votes of the bodies that are in charge of the dollars that will fund this facility. And I recognize this is hard. This is something that's never been done in this district. We're the last medical examiner district in the state to not have a standalone facility. I think that's something that we owe a service to our citizens, and that's the best way to provide that service is in a standalone facility. So somewhere between 26 and 36% of a proposed project cost right now at this early conceptual stage of $24 million. That's somewhere between $6.3 and $8.7 million as a commitment from Escambia County for that plan, depending on those variables. State funding, that could come potentially. We will certainly ask for it, but one of the prerequisites to ask for that funding is that there's a local commitment of funding. Senator Broxton made that very clear. in the meeting. So those are the two things. I understand we're going to kind of pause on the location discussion and let Commissioner Berry have a couple meetings. I'll make a couple more phone calls to Baptist and maybe get some answers on those two options. And then on the funding, just looking for if that's not the option that this board wants to go with, is there something else that I need to take back to the other counties?
So before I relinquish back to the chair, the last comment there, Dan, is that in my conversations with Senator Broxson, the amount of state support part was still sort of an unknown. And getting that, I know we sort of have a chicken and the egg discussion here, and that you have to know that. In order to know that, you have to know that we've got a commitment to our side. In order to get a commitment from us, we kind of need to know that. So whatever you can do to help us assist or help us work toward getting something more concrete on that side, I think will help you get to something more concrete here.
Certainly, sir. And I think it's important to recognize that the $750,000 that the state has appropriated to this project is the first and only $750,000 the state has ever appropriated to any medical examiner district in 50 years. So I think we have a delegation that is active and supports us and supports the project. For reference, I know the local funding initiative request that was submitted last year referenced a future construction ask of $3 million. That would take the state contribution to a total of about 16% for the project. Is that doable? I don't know. Like I said, the first two times it's happened has been the last 2 years, and it's been to our district. So.
Yep. Right. Understood. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep. Thank you. Commissioner Bender.
Dan, did I hear you right that you said that Santa Rosa had proposed that the cost was split evenly?
That is where that idea initiated. Yes.
That's where that idea initiated. So they propose it. I mean, I think clearly we would be on with that. I think Okaloosa would be on with that because they're 25% almost no matter which way you cut it. So Walton didn't agree with it then, most likely. But then in the current proposal, two, or maybe Walton agrees with that one, and now we're the ones not disagreeing. Now we're the ones disagreeing. And I think what we're trying to say is if we do 50% of it, we should have some weight with that, and so I think that's where the frustration lies, is that, again, from what you said, another county proposed the equal split, and I don't know if Santa Rosa would still go for that or not, but, it just seems that no matter which way we're cutting, it's a 3-to-1 vote type thing, and you're not going to be able to pull one down or one up.
Well, I think there's another option. So under the proposal that was presented at the July 20th meeting, that Santa Rosa County share would be somewhere between 20 and 24%, which is pretty close to 25, with taking into account the variables still to be negotiated. If 3 counties were to agree to funding the project, the capital from the 4th county could come via another agreement. It would have to be part of the interlocal agreement, but they could be billed per case, per procedure, and billed separately for that, for the life of the loan, is what again, terms to be negotiated, but yes, if 3...
Would that then move everybody up to 33% instead of 25% then, or how would that?
What do you...
I mean, if you're splitting it between 3 instead of 4.
Right. No, the 3 counties would pay on that, on Senator,
the 25%.
On Senator Broxson's proposal, essentially.
On the financial part, it's a huge aspect, it's a huge issue of it, but I don't think we have any possibility of coming to any resolution until we resolve the location issue. I think this part of the conversation is moot until we figure out the location issue.
Yeah,
because that's gonna dictate for my vote. That's gonna dictate my willingness to enter into a financial agreement is going to be, or to what degree, what part I'm willing to participate in a financial agreement is going to be based on a locational issue.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
All right, perfect.
Thank you, Dan, for being here. Have a good afternoon. All right, final item that we're going to deal with today is we have a number of speakers. This is a discussion on the Contractor Competency Board. Just to set the table, Wes, I know that you've had staff looking into this, and I'm aware that there's a number of good ideas that are going to be brought forward, and I think it might be instructive to hear from staff first before we hear from the citizens, because I think the staff and some of the recommendations they're going to bring forward on this will answer preemptively a lot of the concerns that the citizens are bringing. We all know there's issues, and I see Tim is here.
Yep.
So without objection, I'm going to bring Tim up first and kind of set the table, and then we'll get to the speakers. And again, this is a discussion item.
And the staff, I mean, especially, you know, someone as knowledgeable as Tim presenting first probably will help the citizens make.
Exactly.
It will probably help them.
With their comments.
With their comments as well.
Precisely. Yeah, absolutely. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I think some of the problems have been with you know, public not being informed on what contractors are required to do, what they should be doing, how to hire contractors. So
You got to speak into the mic, man. We're not going to be able to hear you.
I'm
There.
sorry.
Speak loud.
What I was saying is, it looks like the public is not well informed on hiring a contractor, and we recognized that back in April. And we immediately started planning, for example, workshops, partnering with HBA. We had one on the 12th last month, and we've got one coming up next week on the 25th. And we hope we have a good attendance. There's going to be an attorney there to answer questions about contracts, for example, and just go over the requirements that a contractor has and what they should be looking for when they're hiring a contractor. We have that. We've got working on an information packet that we are going to start sending to homeowners when they hire a contractor. Contractor applies for a permit. We're immediately going to be sending them a packet. It could be by email, by U.S. mail, but for the responsibilities a contractor has during their project, what they can expect, for example. We're currently developing that. We filmed a commercial with CMR Tuesday, and it's on the very subject of how to hire a contractor, what to look for. Also,
Where will that be aired? Will that be aired on the broadcast networks or just on our ECTV?
Sure.
Well, you can come back to that.
Okay. And I think they're editing it now, which I think it's, they got a lot of editing. We weren't very good, so.
That's okay.
Anyway, the last thing, Senator Broxton is getting is putting together a meeting with all the inspection departments in his district, along with the Secretary of DVPR. HBA is going to be involved to talk about the state's problems with, for example, the Homeowners Recovery Fund, which is a huge problem.
Yeah.
That and some other things. So there is things in the work. I know it doesn't look like it, but we are working on educating the public.
And I know that you've worked back and forth with Allison Rogers. She and I and Wes had a big discussion yesterday. Allison, you want to kind of go through some of the ideas that have been bounced around? I think many of them are very, very good, and I know you were copied on that email, so.
And I did take the opportunity to speak with Mr. Tolbert this morning, and I think he and I agree that these are all things that could very easily be addressed in pretty short order. And I know Wes is involved as well. But of course, my office can immediately at the next meeting provide for some refresher training for the Contractor Competency Board members. Included in that could be training to remind them about voting conflicts of interest, the memoranda that they are required to fill out related to when there is a voting conflict, and the ethics and ethical obligations of those board members. Mr. Tolbert has already indicated that there is a provision in Chapter 489 Florida statutes. It's essentially a way by which, in the permitting process, additional safeguards can be put into place when there's a contract where at least 10% or more of the base price of the repair or remodel is put up front by the homeowner or the property owner. Asking the building official and his office to make more efforts to fast track or double up on CCB meetings, particularly when there's a need to address maybe a backlog or an incredible number of incoming cases. I know that they're having a special meeting already in September to try to deal with some of those kinds of issues, but making sure that the board is asking your building official to do that whenever that could be helpful. We can, in fact, post on our website when the CCB has taken disciplinary action against contractors. Those meetings are public, obviously. They can be viewed. And so we can make better efforts for outreach as far as making them easily locatable on the website and posting disciplinary actions or suspensions when they have occurred.
And Allison, before we move from that, that's an extremely powerful tool if we're able to put that onto a dashboard.
Sure.
Because right now, the DBPR, certain licenses throughout the state, I know, 4 COP licenses for on-premise consumption. If they do something wrong, if they get a noise complaint or have a ding on their license, or they're not paying their purveyors, that goes up for everyone to see. And that way, if you're a purveyor and you want to go work for this company, wait a minute, they're not paying their bills. And I think we need to do the same thing locally. And I think that's a very, very important part of this whole package of improvements that we need to make for our oversight. But that's legal to do it. I'm assuming it is, because the state is already doing it.
Well, sure, the meetings are public. When those disciplinary actions occur, that is part of a public meeting.
Sure.
So absolutely.
So that could be something that the citizen, he's about to hire a contractor, could press the button on our website and see the list of all the sustained complaints and what exactly happened, so that they can make an informed choice when they hire a contractor. See, we don't have that right now. So a lot of folks, they got talked into something. If we had that in place, they could have hit that button and seen, hey, this guy's got this guy's got that. I think that's an important point. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that really...
Not at all. A couple other ideas that we've already discussed, the idea of having the building official or someone from his staff make sure that at least quarterly they are reporting to the administrator if there are concerns with, say, repeat absenteeism, repeat early departures, repeat voting conflicts of interest, or things like that with contractor competency board members, to make sure that that board remains fully and actively staffed with board appointees. And I know Mr. Tolbert already has an effort underway for consumer education, but certainly, the board can make it clear that it's very important to the board that Mr. Tolbert and his office continue those efforts.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. Robert, you're recognized.
Thank you. Tim, I think, of course, I like where we're going, but I think some of it was, I don't want to say what the rights are, but what homeowners need to know once they've hired one. But I think that might be we need to focus on what to do before hiring one too, because as we said, I think, and maybe it was market conditions, I don't know, but 50% is a lot for a down payment. I think that's what we also need to get the message out, is that, and I'm going to ask you this, what would be a normal down payment on a job that a contractor should ask for?
In my experience, normally you don't pay anything down. But, I would probably be concerned with over 10%.
So max should be 10%. And then let's just dig into this one issue a little bit that I think everyone's here to discuss is, so I had someone call and say that we didn't have a hearing for 2 months because we didn't have an attorney present. Was there a delay in hearing the bank's case? I mean, did it get pushed? I mean, I had heard that he actually wasn't showing up. And I think in one of them, they didn't show up and we still heard the case and took action, even though they weren't present, so.
Yeah, I mean, that happens. I don't remember, us not having a meeting because an attorney wasn't there. Sometimes, was that case in the city? You remember?
No,
I think it was. Because sometimes coordinating with the city, we don't have the records at our fingertips if it's in the county.
I don't know exactly which it was, but it was a January, I think they said it was January, February, we didn't hear the case, and then it was March or April once we finally did, so.
And then coordinating with the city inspection department, they may have to come testify, usually they do. And, and I know through the holidays, they canceled a couple of meetings because we couldn't get a quorum because of the holidays. But when it's when the complaint's from the city, it's more difficult to
So we need to work better with the city to make sure that they can have their people there to represent.
I did speak with the mayor about that too. We're going to get with them and see if we can streamline that.
Okay. Well, I did notice that on the attendance records, the one that we replaced earlier this year had attended 50% of the meetings out of the last 14 that had been held. So it seemed that the habitual absentee person, granted, there's still some that were spots here and there, but the one that was the worst offender was removed earlier this year. So, and then, Tim, what can we do for all the homeowners that have been wronged? As I mentioned them earlier, that I'm working on trying to get maybe somebody from the state here. Of course, get the record updated on DBPR to show what's been going on. If we've suspended the license and we've had all these complaints and DBPR is still showing that there's nothing, that's an issue. We need to make sure that we communicate with them. And then finally, what's the issue if Banks is still out there working on jobs right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm at a loss, you know, he's not licensed. So, you know, I can't imagine someone hiring him.
No, but if he's going working jobs that he got already, but he's trying to finish them, is he allowed to do that?
No.
So he's not allowed to do any work in the county right now? What if he's working under someone else's
He's
license?
not allowed to pull a permit.
But he could work on a job site under someone else?
Possibly.
Oh, boy, okay. All right.
Okay. Well, I think we need to try to have a meeting for the people that have issues with this one contractor and help them find a way to remediate, and hopefully we can bring in some state help because this is probably one of the more egregious cases that, of course, I've ever come across. Maybe if you've come across as long as you've been in business, because I think the closest way to describe it is like a Ponzi scheme. And especially if, you know, if those down payments went for other things, I would want to see how we can go after his assets and get money back in the hands of our citizens. So thank you, Tim.
Thank you. Stephen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, and, you know, Robert, it had been described to me as, you know, as a Ponzi scheme. And, you know, unfortunately, I've run across a couple of folks over the years that have, you know, conducted things like that, and you know, that have been involved in those type of things. But one of the integral parts of it is, at times they did pay other people back. I mean, so it's, I mean, you know, perhaps I don't know, miss one of the elements of the Ponzi scheme, which is, you know, to be able to do it for a number of years, you do have to repay some of the people.
Right.
So yeah, it's very concerning. And, you know, I'm not sure, although I suspect, you know, my knowledge of this is, you know, the timeline is similar to the rest of the board, when we might have gotten some emails in June, you know, after a contractor competency board meeting in June, with some people that spoke that were frustrated. And, you know, since that time, that set some, you know, that set things in motion. And there have been things happening ever since then. And it sounds like, you know, they're making progress as far as, you know, moving forward with that. You know, one of the things that was concerning, Tim, that I heard was there's a backlog of things to be heard. People need to be heard, and if there's a backlog of complaints, that's indicative of more things the board needs to hear. I mean, if they need to conduct you know, weekly meetings or you know, weekly meetings until they work through the backlog. Everyone that files a complaint has a right to be heard, and you know, it's not a case where. So, just use an example this morning. So, public forum. You know, we had a lot of speakers. Jeff, you know, turned the minutes down. You know, cut the minutes to 2 minutes apiece, which is very fair. We've had to cut them to 1 minute apiece in the past when there's been many speakers. But we still heard everyone. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it pushed starting the business meeting, you know, late. You know, over the years, we've had to do that many times. I don't think the theory of that's dissimilar to the theory of the board hearing all the complaints in a timely manner. And if they need to have multiple meetings to do so, then that's what they need to do. You know, you can't just say, well, you know, we didn't get time to hear your complaint, so it'll just get pushed to next month. Because what happened, and I think what a lot of the frustration come from, and I can tell you what a lot of my personal frustration is, that from the time that it sounds like there were very verifiable, documented losses, that we had some number of months that there were still other unsuspecting people being taken advantage of.
That's right.
That's the concern. I mean, if you're completely unaware of something, you really don't have a lot of accountability if you just don't know. But by the time the board is aware that there's potentially rogue operators, one or more than one that are operating, that should be like a red light, hot button issue, and hopefully they would want to hear everything related to that and then take action to protect our citizens, because at its core level, that's what the board exists for, is to try to protect our constituents in an expert way that we as lay people don't have the skill set to necessarily do. That's why the seats are described in a there are a couple that are business people in more general terms, but some are very, very specific in the skill that they're supposed to be representing, and I'm sure they do that. So they're equipped to hear these complaints and be able to tell whether it's just sour grapes or fraud. Right. And the two things have, I think, anyone that's been in that industry is going to be able to discern those two types of complaints pretty quickly, I think. Yes. So it's that time frame, that lag time, that I think is the concern is my main concern, and it's one of the concerns that Commissioner May expressed, a week or two ago when, he made some comments, and, it's unfortunate he's not here for this discussion, but that's one of the things he said publicly was, well, how long did we know? And that's the concern, is who was harmed in this interim time between the time that we had people in the public sector aware that there was an issue and now. And, I just anecdotally, I was told that even after the, second or third contractor competency board hearing related to one of the individuals, they were still giving quotes and taking down payments the next day. And that's a problem. And it's disappointing that there wasn't a more stern action taken more quickly, because I think that there was plenty of time, if it was miscommunication or if it was just sour grapes or if it was something that, ambiguous in the contract, they didn't understand that they were going to be paying for this or that. I think the gentleman had plenty of time to make a strong case if that was what was going on, but I don't think that any objective person listening to the comments would have taken that away from those comments, I don't think, and that's my concern. And the measures that you're talking about taking, I think those are all very good things. And some of the rules about what applies to a contractor if they take this type of down payment, I didn't know those things. I mean, just as a if I was a homeowner, maybe I should know more of that. I wouldn't have known that necessarily. I wouldn't have known what the expectations were if I'd given this amount of down payment versus a different amount. So, we have a lot of education to the public that we need to get out there. I think one of the things that you had mentioned was, making sure we have good contact, for the homeowners when the permits are pulled. I think, so that they have a more ready line of communication with the whole reason that in this instance we exist is to try to protect the consumer from a bad actor.
Yeah, absolutely.
If there were no bad actors, there would be no reason to have a contract competency board or the building department. You would just trust everybody to go do what you're supposed to.
Correct. Absolutely.
So that's, but it sounds like, and I know you've spent some time with Allison and with Wes about the issue, and, I like where you're going, and I think our board is going to take whatever actions are necessary now that we are all aware of it to remedy the situation and not, first of all, stop what's going on, and to not have another instance happen like this. There'll always be bad operators, but we've got to have something in place that shuts it down in a more quick manner.
Absolutely. And to that point, If there's a sustained finding, that means it's gone through the 90 to 120-day process at the competency board where someone has not finished a job, not started a job, taken money for materials, whatever the case might be. Can we shut them down at that moment and suspend that license until they get that right? That way it keeps them from going to this guy and this guy and this guy and stacking up multiples. Because if so, I'd like to put that on the list as well.
If we're talking about locally licensed contractors.
That's what I'm talking about.
I believe the board has that option.
I mean, I think that's what we have to do, and we put them on the wall of fame. That way folks that are going to be hire people can see that, and you're currently suspended. That way if they're out trying to drum up new business, you know, the shrewd consumer can say, well, wait a minute, you're on this list. You haven't paid or you haven't completed the last job. I mean, we're all learning from this too. I mean, this is a learning experience for all of us.
I can tell you, I know there was some concern that if the board revoked a license, that they're no longer can even call for inspection. They're off the job, and they wanted to get as many people made whole as they could. So if you revoke the license, then, you know, it's over with.
But Tim,
but it ended up being that way.
But Tim, and that was said to me at one of the, or after one of those meetings.
Right.
But that's assuming that somebody's operating in good faith.
Right.
And at some point in time, the board, especially given the levels of experience they have in business, their trade specifically, and then the general business people that sit on the board, they should have an understanding that okay, this person is not operating in good faith. And I honestly, I agree with Jeff in that instance. I mean, and it should be clear pretty quickly, you know, like I was saying, whether, you know, they're supposed to be able to discern whether this is just a disagreement about terms of a contract or is it shenanigans. Right. They should also be able to tell whether this person is going to genuinely try to finish these jobs and make these people whole, or is it shenanigans? And if they can't, and I'm concerned if they couldn't tell that this was shenanigans by maybe June, I'm concerned about the ability to discern good operators from not so good operators.
Yeah, and I can't speak for the board, but it's almost like, you know, they were in shock because of the volume of the complaints, and I mean, it really is unprecedented. In my 29 years, I've never seen anything like it.
Commissioner Underhill and Commissioner Bender.
Thank you. Does the board have less intrusive measures available to it for a locally licensed contractor who has a complaint against them, such as a restriction on that local license that prevents them from being able to pull further permits but allows them to continue on the jobs that they're already contracted on?
I believe that they have that ability to, for example, say no more permits until you get these projects finished.
That seems to, addressing Commissioner Berry's concern, sometimes it is a little bit hard to necessarily, and maybe there was an intent for shenanigans, or maybe there was the beginning of shenanigans, right. But at the same time, there's a possibility to get them back on the straight and narrow. It is my understanding that they do have that mechanism available to them. It is also my understanding they don't use it very often.
Well, I do know that's the only thing they can do to a state certified contractor. If they're licensed through the state, which the Construction Industry Licensing Board rules over their license. Mm-hmm. One thing that the board can do is suspend all permitting in Escambia County.
Right. Yeah. So that's, but again, I'm more thinking about the ones that we actually have. We are a subordinate of the state. We have an obligation to follow the state's practices with regard to that. I would say though that if it's not working for us, we also have an obligation as local government to inform DBPR that, hey, this isn't working out real well. But with regard to those that we license ourselves, it seems that going into that restricted status, while there's an open complaint, should be the norm, and it should be like the first measure that would then allow, that would ensure some level of protection against new victims. If in fact we do have a bad will issue, and that would also be a very strong incentive for our locally licensed businessmen and women to keep themselves on the straight and narrow.
Right.
But again, it's a tool that is available. It's a tool I don't see used very often. Tools left in the toolbox don't get a whole lot of work done. If that could be, I mean, that might, not to articulate to them how they should do their job.
Right.
the Contractor Competency Board, the deterrent effect of the Contractor Competency Board is one of its most powerful strengths. If we're taking months and months to get to a complaint, so that complaint, the bad actor may feel, well, I'm going to get this resolved by then, it's going to be OBE, and by the time it gets to them, then we're losing some of that deterrent effect. If we're not utilizing the tools in our toolbox to really incentivize these guys not to find themselves before the Contractor Competency Board, then again, we're losing that deterrent effect. The deterrent effect of government is the best effect rather than the actual interaction. So if you could find ways to identify how we can actually reinstate that deterrent effect, that's going to be your highest impact, lowest cost stuff. Thanks.
And I don't mean to delve into county attorney's area, but I think that would be something that they would get advice from the county attorney on.
Robert, then Stephen?
Yeah, just two comments, then hear from speakers. But regarding the bad faith, Stephen, that if you're saying that the day after he had a hearing, he was out there getting more clients, I don't know if suspending his license would have changed that, because, I know some people that reached out to me said, I've signed the contract, and I'll tell you, let's put this for the public. They love using us as an excuse for why you haven't gotten your permit pulled or something like that. Tim, we had one a couple years ago where they said we hadn't come out and inspected it, and they hadn't even asked for the inspection yet. So we're a very convenient excuse because everyone thinks that we can't operate functionally. But I would say, Tim, typically how long would it be for you to come out and do an inspection after it's requested?
After they requested it?
After an inspection is requested, how long?
Next day.
Next day. Okay, so same thing, with this is that they could get a contract, but it may be some time before they actually pull a permit.
Exactly.
And so I think it's a great discussion, but I think we're also, we're talking about not allowing them to pull contracts. Well, they're still out there getting people on the hook and taking their money, even though if they can't pull a contract. The other thing I want to ask about the Contractor Competency Board was that I had heard that during one of the meetings, all the public speakers were moved to the end and were not allowed to speak before the individual had their case heard. And, going back, looking at some of the agendas, they have public forum listed at the top. And if that occurred, I think we need to look in that, because, here we are talking about that we need to hear from everybody.
Right.
And they didn't have an opportunity to speak before the board took action on a contractor. Right. And so that tells me that the board did not have all the information until after a decision had been made. So I think that would be egregious if that occurred.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the reforms we need to make. The public speakers speak before we make decisions, just like we do here.
The public forum part?
Yeah.
I think that's what they moved, the public forum, they moved that, I think, to the end on one meeting, I think.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, is that they took all care of, again, in the agenda, public forum is listed, the fifth item, and then you have disciplinary hearing was number 8, and they moved the public to the end.
Let me ask you this, though, Robert, in that particular case that you're talking about, when they got to that item for the discipline, did they let the folks speak to that before they got into their proceeding?
My understanding was that the contractor had his hearing and had left the room before they had the opportunity to speak.
But that doesn't make sense to me.
I'm telling you what I heard.
So at public forum, okay, let's get to the bottom of it right now, because here's one we can solve real quick. At public forum, during these meetings, do you let them speak to any item on the agenda? Is that typically how it goes?
Typically, if they're there to speak on an agenda item, they have to wait till that item.
So when we had the agenda item where this particular contractor's charges were going to be looked at, did you allow people to sign up and speak?
Oh, I don't remember exactly, but typically, I don't remember this changing.
I got a lot of head nods from the back of the room saying they weren't able to speak.
Yeah,
so I got to go back and watch the tape.
Yeah,
I got to go look at.
I may have not been at that meeting. I don't know.
Okay.
But I don't remember that. I remember they moved a public forum to the end one time.
Well, Robert, thanks for bringing that up. Now I'm going to go watch videos. It looks like Steve, you're recognized.
Yeah, and I do after this, Jeff. I do think it'd be a good idea to hear the public. See.
Yeah, I'm ready.
So, Robert, and I understand what you're saying, that them taking action might not change what happens that next day. But if the board had taken action and then we made we had that action documented somewhere, then at least we've done everything that we could do if we put it on our website saying, John Doe's contract or John Doe's license has been suspended, and the public knows to look on the, Escambia website, and they saw that, John Doe's contract was licensed, their, license was suspended, they'd be less inclined to sign a contract, I would presume. But again, I mean, that's assuming somebody does that, but at least we can't control what John Doe does in that instance, but we can at least do everything that we can do to document that we perceive the actions to be, to be negligent and in bad faith. And if they continue to act in bad faith, and where all of this, it appears, is going to end is, law enforcement has been involved for 6 or 8 weeks now, or I guess actually even longer than that. And that's who's going to end up. I mean, it's going to end up with law enforcement, the state's attorney's office, and that's where all of this is going. But we have some of those initial things to at least get the word out to our public, if our board is taking if our CCB is taking that action. So.
Okay, we're going to hear from the speakers now. Thank you, Tim, for putting that together. Thank you, Allison Rogers. We do have a number of speakers. We're going to go through them one by one. I have to step out momentarily. Doug will handle the speakers, and I'll be right back to the room. Yeah, she's making a list for you. We're going to start out. We're going to go right from the bottom to the top. And so we're going to start with Melissa Pino. You have 3 minutes. You'll be recognized. And she's going to give you a list, and I'll be right back. Who's starting the clock? She's managing the clock?
Thank you, Vice Chairman Underhill. If you'd like to stop my time, I'd be happy to finally have a chance to explain to the public how your contractor's license was put together fraudulently.
Need to stay on topic, Ms. Pino.
You really don't have any business speaking to this issue. I'm going to start with the headline, which is, gentlemen, you have got to clean house on that contractor competency board. Now, all of this discussion was really good, and I'm really glad to hear of the improvements and the possible, things that are going to be put in place. But if Chairman Burgash is going to go back and watch tape, maybe you should all go back and start by watching the tape when 3 years ago Terry Knott came to this podium to inform you of conflict of interest on the contractor competency board. And if you're looking for somebody to be upset about within the context of the county, Terry had met separately with Janice Gilley and Commissioner Bender, who encouraged her, they'd put it on the agenda, and she could come tell you about the potential conflict of interest, financial, that was potentially ongoing during her cases. And then subsequently, Commissioner Bender did us the courtesy of coming down after a subsequent meeting to talk to us and mansplain to us about financial conflict of interest. You need to go back and you need to investigate all of that. It doesn't matter how powerful, if they're friends, if they're longtime acquaintances, you have got to investigate that, and that's the role of the county attorney. Now, I want to thank Tim Tolbert because he has spent countless hours trying to help Terry Knott and I over the course of 3 years try to find a way to stop this mess. And I don't mean particularly with the Contractor Competency Board, I mean all of it, because these 2 recent ones are just the dingleberries on an entire organized system to defraud. That when the state's attorney's office failed to execute the warrants on a previous investigation by the Department of Ag for organized criminal system to defraud, that's when these 2 started going crazy. And that's not on the county, and that's not on Tim Tolbert, but the conflict of interest is. And Larry Downs Jr., I got his paperwork on his recusals yesterday, and I called him for the first time in a long time, and I said, brother, you better go back through this stuff. Why is it on one of Larry's recusals, it doesn't appear to have any of his handwriting? It's all Jennifer Hampton's handwriting, and it doesn't look like Larry's signature. It needs a full investigation as to why these sorts of things have gone on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pino. Next speaker is Kevin Wade. As Kevin's on his way up, go ahead, Commissioner.
If I would. I think the question, and Mel, you actually agreed with me when I said that serving on a nonprofit board together didn't constitute a conflict. Serving on a board together didn't constitute, and you agreed with me, so that's what I explained.
All right, thank you very much. Next speaker is Kevin Wade. Mr. Wade, go ahead, please, sir.
Shenanigans in effect, right? Okay. Probable causes ignored by our state's attorney. Who's our advocate? Always. Always is the question, who is our advocate? When we're building homes and hiring people to build homes, we end up having to go to someone with a license, contractor's license, right? But there's this miasma of jurisdictional layers and oversight where there's no way the conflicts of interest can not be happening. This is only so big a town. Every contractor that ends up sitting on the contractor's competency board will end up doing some work with someone else that has shown to the board, been represented at the board, sits on the board. So to go ahead and make something like that, even at times quasi-judicial, is just who's our advocate and who licenses the people who are our advocates. And, this place seemed to me to be the Wild West 30 years ago of contractors and building practices, when there were things like Treasure Hills coming along and Speranzas, all these names that we end up hearing over and over again. They just keep popping back up. I've built for quite a few of the people who ended up losing their license at some point. When you're building 300 kitchens a year around here, you end up building for everybody. When you end up working here in the trades for any length of time, you end up coming close to almost every contract that there is. And I don't know how much of the public are aware that many contractors end up becoming self-regulated because those particular contractors have subs, and those subs need to get paid. And there will be those who know that have the money that will call several contractors into the room with their subs and their banker, and there will be a check signing party. So the check ends up getting written and handed to the contractor, and that contractor isn't allowed to leave that room until that contractor turns around and hands that check to their sub. And that self-regulation, that's pretty rare. This kind of regulation from this board, this needs to happen. And seeing the CYA that happened in the Kabuki Theater in this room over Terry Knox's situation.
Thank you, Mr. Wade. That concludes your time. The next speaker is Alice Bennett, and Allison Creed, you are on deck.
Thank you. I'm Alice Bennett. I live at 10394 Old Dairy Lane in Commissioner Berry's district. Some of this you've already said, but I would like to just get it off of my chest, if I might. I hope that each of you have gone back and watched videos of the meetings just this year of the Competency Board. I think that's eye-opening. And I think if you have watched those meetings, you have to agree that it was an epic fail. Mr. Banks, at the meeting that I saw that he attended, did not deny any of the charges. He asked the board not to remove his license so that he could continue to support his family. despite what he did to all of the families in Escambia County. And they allowed it to continue. Mr. Marino says he loves to, I wrote it down, loves to help citizens. We're begging for your help. There is one thing I know that you can do, or I feel like you can do, because Santa Rosa County did it, and that is to remove the requirement of a two-step process. Why do we have to go and submit our claim and it be heard, and everybody agrees it's a good claim, and then we have to wait 30 more days to go back for a disciplinary hearing before we can get our final orders? Especially in this situation when there are so many. My claim is one that is in hold. They are hoping, that was the word I got yesterday, hoping that it will be heard the first time on September 26th. That is if you approve a special meeting. That's ridiculous. Because after that meeting, I will have to wait another month to get my final order, which I'm sure I'm going to get. He has no defense. He hasn't said he didn't do what we said he did. So can you please speed up the process? Can we at least get our final orders, which is the main thing we have to apply for the State Recovery Fund? We have to have a final order.
Thank you, Ms. Bennett. That concludes your time.
Thank you.
It's a well-known,
Thank you.
a well-used term in government that justice delayed is justice denied. So very good comments. Thank you. Allison Creed, you're up next. Larry Downs, you are on deck.
Mr. Chairman.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to speak to Ms. Bennett's excuse me, comments for just a second. Ms. Bennett, we will do what we can. There are, there's somebody in the audience that can help with the agenda items, and as far as making sure things are heard. That is a very long time, and I was not aware of your issue. I'm very sorry for what you're dealing with. I pass by Old Dairy, taking my daughter to school every morning. So,
thank you, Commissioner. Ms. Creed, go ahead.
Hi,
please.
my name is Allison Creed. Address is 4145 Willis Way. I am, along with what we know of right now, at least 100 other victims of Jesse Lacoste and Matt Banks. And obviously, that's not why I'm here today. You guys already know about this issue and all that's going on. I just wanted to bring it to your attention that we brought a serious complaint to the Contractor Competency Board that went to a probable cause hearing back in June of 2020. Like, we're talking over 2 years ago. And my husband that day was not even permitted to finish telling the story of what was happening, time constraints, or, what do you expect us to do? And we were shut down that day with all of the documentation turned in, written, everything, I's dotted, T's crossed, and we were shut down that day. And if that complaint would have been submitted this year, in the last 6 months, it would have been taken seriously and something would have been done, because it's identical to everyone else's. But this was over 2 years ago. So it's just, we were one of the first people to step forward, at least against Mr. Lacoste. And I just feel like we were just made to feel crazy. And we've learned now we are not crazy. And we just wonder how different things could look if things would have been done back then. We were encouraged to go, take the civil route, pursue civil remedies. And so many aspects of these cases against both of these men are so beyond the scope of civil remedies. And there just needs to be so much change in this board and how they treat things and take it seriously and timely. But that's all I have.
Thank you very much, Ms. Creed. Next speaker is Larry Downs, and Mr. Sharplin, you'll be following Mr. Downs. You're on deck.
Thank you much. Hey, one of those directives was don't touch your face, for us, but y'all, we all touch our face, so I just wanted to bring that up. Now, I just want to set something quick before I run out of time. I don't remember how many recusal letters that I signed, and listen, I'm volunteering on this board. You can't scare me with pull me off, keep me on, I don't care. Doesn't bother me at all. I'm up there to advocate for freedom, for the homeowner, for the contractor, everyone. I have recused myself from like 5 people. One of them was a homeowner. I know them. I feel like I could still be impartial. I know I could, no doubt. But because of the circle jerk that goes on the internet, I just figured since I know them, none of them am I good friends with, never ate lunch with them. I mean, y'all can imagine if I got a friend, I'm going to eat lunch with them. But I do know them. They're friends on Facebook, and they're somewhat friends in real life. But anyways, this recusal that Melissa I just got this morning, today at 8:01. I sent it. I was busy yesterday. I sent it to my secretary. I said, "Good morning, Chris. Did you fill this out and sign it?" She says, "Yes." I said, "Why did you put that I am good friends with Matt Banks?" She said, "I asked you what to put, and I said, because you are good friends, and you said yes," quote. I said, "Jesus Christ, where were we what were we talking about, 10 things at the same time?" She said, "I asked you because none of the other options fit. None of the other options fit. I have no financial interest in any contractors. I never have, other than if I do work for them. That's not a financial interest in them. That's the reason why I still feel like I can judge. I don't have a financial interest in any of them. I've never been in business with any of them. I've never had partnerships with anybody in this whole town. I'm a one-man band on my business. Me and my employees, that's it. So, and of course on these, and I would like a little bit more time just to explain, but, this ECW, which they threw me off, all that kind of stuff, they run on there and talk all this crap. I don't care. I feel like I'm a good board member. If y'all don't want me there, if you don't want a board member who advocates for freedom, and not more and more of this, and I tell you, contractors, homeowners, they have plenty of options. There's no reason at all for this to, this contractor clearly screwed up. Beyond, I've only seen it once this bad.
Larry, thank you. That's your time, and we still have a number of speakers.
I have a question for the speaker. Mr. Downs, it's my understanding that you did in fact recuse yourself from that case, correct?
100% from Matt Banks, because I didn't want this problem.
Because of the appearance of impropriety.
Just pure sewing circle stuff.
Okay, so friendship, good friend. Excuse me, Chairman.
No.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Good order and discipline. Very important. So is my understanding then that you did recuse yourself from it so that there would be no appearance of impropriety in the conduct of your public duties, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, so whether or not you were good friends, mediocre friends, all that kind of thing, I can't imagine how that would make a difference, because you went to the extreme level of, if there could be any appearance of impropriety, you recused yourself.
Yes, because I know how it is.
No idea what the issue is then.
Thank you very much. Eric Sharplin?
Is that, Mr. Chairman, sorry,
Yeah.
Hey, Larry, I'm just, for what it's worth, it looks like on August 3rd and March 2nd, you just said both times that they're a friend and business associates.
Yeah, a business associate is what I consider doing work for them.
Okay.
Yeah, not an
Just
associate.
let me clarify, because that's what it was on the form,
Yeah.
so.
I mean,
Just
the
says friend and-
Walmart greeter is an associate. Does she own any part of it? Maybe, maybe not, but I don't. Maybe I used the wrong word, but I'm not a business interest, financial interest of no sort, nothing. I just call it how I see it, like it or not.
Larry, well, okay, so I got a question now. Larry, I think the concern was that when we are up here serving on these boards and these committees, we have to make a lot of tough votes, and we know a lot of people that are, subject to the votes that we make. but when you recuse, I mean, it's a very narrow bandwidth, very narrow.
I asked the attorney.
Well, that's the question that I have. Okay, so you're saying it was a conflict of interest because you were friends?
No.
So what was the reason for the recusal?
If you watch the videos, you'll see that I know them.
Okay.
They're friends. Not friends that I'd hang out with at my house. They've never been to my house.
Right. But, okay, Allison, now it's time for you to weigh in, because my understanding is it has to be something financial, or it has to be a conflict of interest.
I asked that in one of the earlier ones.
And the attorney told you, oh, that's fine?
That I could. Yeah.
Allison, what are the very narrow reasons where someone can recuse when they sit on one of these boards?
It is true that the intent is supposed to be in instances where there is some level of financial gain or loss, either to yourself or a business associate or a family member. There are some narrow circumstances where the appearance of impropriety is sufficient. That is true.
And that's what he told me.
It's on virtually every one of the voting abstention forms that I'm doing with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
There is some room for that.
But if it's just a contractor that I know and he's a friend of mine, I mean, I look at that, I mean, no disrespect meant, but I make a lot of votes on this board, and the previous board I served on for 10 years, hundreds and hundreds, thousands, and I've recused 5 times. I mean, and I'm just trying to think, and how many people have I known whose businesses are impacted by the decisions I make? Sometimes very, very hard decisions, firing a teacher. Disciplining an administrator when I was a school board. I know these people, but I still got to get up there and make a tough vote. So, I mean, is that acceptable? If I know a contractor I did work for 5 or 6 years ago, can I just not vote on it? That's a question to you, Allison.
It's possible you can abstain. And I have,
Right, I mean,
I have not seen any commission, I'm not trying to be argumentative.
No, I know. I'm not either, but we got to get to the point because we got to make votes.
But the board member themselves is going to be the one in the best position to help make that determination.
Okay.
So, but Jeff, it's a little bit of a catch-22, right? I mean, Larry's out there trying to get business. Maybe he's worked with one of these contractors before. Maybe he wants to do work with them in the future. And by sitting on the board and him taking action, it could prevent him from getting their work in the future. I mean, that's what it is, right? I mean, that's why we do have some non-industry people on the board. I mean, I believe we do have trouble getting this right. We just have lay persons, I think is how they're listed on the board.
Well, maybe we need to have the lay persons be the voting members and the other people be the non-voting members. I mean, because we can't. Something's broken in the system, and we're going to get it fixed. And it's not your fault. You just joined the board not long ago, but something's broken in this process. We're hearing it from the people. We saw what happened with Banks Construction and with Jesse Lacoste. So I think this board, and I know me in particular, we're going to find a way to get at the bottom of it. We're going to try and find a way to solve it. We can't go back in time and give people their money back. We don't have that ability. But we're just trying to get to the best way forward. So,
well, all I was doing was I was just making it. And I think I'm very clear with everybody. I mean, I'm very clear. I don't, Pensacola Energy couldn't buy me. I don't care about contracts with anybody. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have been offered a lot of different deals along the way. Never.
Sure.
I don't care. I mean, that's the thing about, so naturally I could. I think I could have voted on any of those. Mm-hmm. It's only the impropriety that I was concerned with.
The perception of it.
The perception. Because perception is reality for most everybody, and it drives me crazy.
It is for everybody. All right. All right. Next up, we got another.
Mr. Downs, I would have to say that it was totally appropriate for you to recuse yourself from those if you have ever worked as a subcontractor for that person that's up before them. I mean, it appears that you took the path most likely to be seen as, gosh, I can't believe I'm saying all the things we say bad about each other. I just can't understand where there is a problem here. The right thing to do would be to recuse yourself.
I agree.
An attorney who had defended me in the past cannot work, a case against me for somebody else.
I agree. I was just saying that I could, not that I would.
Right.
I'm just saying I could judge it.
Right, well, your
But
ability.
I'm not gonna
Yeah,
because.
Your ability to do so is not the point of the recusing. The recusing is done in order to ensure that the
Impropriety.
people know that business is being conducted on the most up and up way possible. So,
Yeah.
All right.
And even recusing myself just didn't seem good enough.
We should stop agreeing with each other. Somebody's head's going to explode.
All right, Eric Sharplin, you're recognized. 3 minutes. Okay, never mind. They're good. No, good. Thank you. Chris Glaze, you're recognized. You're on my list. I don't know. What could I say? The computer went haywire today. Chris, thanks for your patience waiting through our long
Hey,
meeting.
no problem. Thanks, guys. And I know I spoke a little bit earlier, but I'm 2451 Brook Park off of Kingsfield. I'm in Mr. Berry's district. And yeah, so we're obviously, like I said earlier, we are part of the Banks Lacoste, however you want to call it. Our house is currently sitting in a state where the addition that was started and added on the back of the property has cut into our house, into our roof, into our property, and never, now it's just open to the elements. We can't lock our house. We can't do anything. Our kids are sleeping in a house that can't even be secured. We can't get insurance on our house anymore. We're about to enter another hurricane season where we can't insure our house. So that's kind of just, where we're at with that. I'm almost, I really don't have an agenda. I just kind of wanted to come up here and speak on some of these things. And, I've kind of resided the fact that I don't think we're ever going to see all of this, all these folks in here get their money back or made whole, however you want to put it. But, yeah, obviously something's messed up. There's got to be a way to stop this as soon as a complaint's brought forth. I'm sure you all know this, so I don't want to act like I'm talking down to you or anything, but, before a case is even heard by the competency board, before they are allowed to speak and it's brought forward, the investigator at the permitting office, she's done her investigation into it, and then it's brought there. If you'll go back and look at most all of these cases that have been brought, there is a multitude of things that were found, many of which, almost every time, going back to the permits and saying, well, we're good for this person's license, they can't pull permits. And almost every one of them, the permits were never even pulled to begin with. They were just operating illegally without ever doing what they were supposed to do right from the very beginning. So why, as soon as that is found out by a county employee who did an investigation, which then brought it to the next step, is something not happening right then? You've got all these red flags, all these laws broken, everything going on, something needs to happen immediately. So that's one thing. And I forget who it was. I think it was Ms. Creed. And I've never even met these people before today. We see each other on Facebook and we kind of talk. But, what she didn't get to tell you as well, and I heard somebody else, I think Melissa alluded to it, there's a much bigger, these two are just small fish in a big fry. There is, if you look at it, Ms. Creed was approached after they destroyed her house on the Lacoste side, which you all know the connection there. She was approached by Blaine Flynn and people from Genesis Land Title. They wanted to then buy her property after they destroyed it, and then they were going to try to flip it. Well, then when all this trouble started happening, they stepped out of that business. But I just think it's very funny, too, that when all this started coming to light, the Genesis Land Tile building was struck by lightning and burned down just on the inside, just a matter of weeks ago. So please just look into this, too. There's a big problem here.
Thank you, will do.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Mr. Glaze, make some comments to you and your wife similar to Ms. Bennett. I'm sorry for what y'all are dealing with, and I tell you, Mr. Chairman, it's very close to home. I take my daughter to Pine Meadow every morning, pass by Old Dairy, and then I pick both children up from Gonzales Methodist. My mother still lives about a half a mile east of Brook Park to get to our house off of Kim Strand every afternoon. So I pass by Brook Park every day, and I'm just very sorry for what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. It's horrible. Final speaker, Jenny Anderson. Thank you for your patience. I know you've been here for our long meeting. I appreciate it.
It's been exciting.
No, it hasn't.
Thank you for your patience, all of you, and for what you do for people. That's really why I'm here. I really care about all these people that this has happened to. But I'm a process person. That's what I do. So when I looked at this, I said, how does this happen by process and where are the gaps? And the first thing that I see is that these individuals are able to contract without you having any oversight of that contract. So there's no way that Tim might know that these individuals are pulling contract or engaging in contracts and not pulling permits, right? So is there a way to get some oversight oversight of those contracts. That would have caused a red flag. Look at all of these contracts, yet we haven't had any permits pulled. Or the second piece is, we've got permits pulled. Mine sat open for a year without a single inspection because there was no work being done. Where is the check that says, look at all these permits that are sitting out here that are long-term, no inspections? But should we stop by and knock on the homeowner's door and say, what's going on here? So there's a couple of opportunities, I think, for process improvements. To the point of, board oversight, and having that transparency of the board, you all are talking about going back and watching these meetings, and I think that's exceptional. I've gone back as far as I can go and looked at agendas and meeting minutes, and that's how I've learned some of these stories where these older cases have been dismissed or in my opinion, those need to be looked at again. We have a totally different perspective than we did back then. However, I think every case should stand on its own merits. And with each case, the individual should have the opportunity for the board to look at it from the perspective of pretty fraudulent activity. What we have right now is kind of this discussion of whether or not Mr. Banks can continue work. My gosh, everyone in the entire world is hiring right now. Did you say he couldn't continue work, or did you say he couldn't continue work doing what he's doing? I've had to get other jobs. That's a possibility for every person in this room and for Mr. Banks too. So that's, yeah. He did not deny any of the charges. If you go back and watch these videos, in fact, he specifically said, I could face the criminal procedure. I thought that was a very interesting thing for him to announce himself to the board. Why would we be facing the criminal procedure if we were doing nothing wrong? He also said that he would work totally unlicensed to the board himself. It's in a video, it's on tape. I will work unlicensed if I have to. That's an announcement that I'm above this board and I'm above these laws. And I think that should have been taken very seriously at that point and his license stripped of him then.
Thank you very much, and I want to thank all the speakers for your patience today. It's quite a process, and rest assured the staff has heard all of these ideas, and we're going to be implementing some controls, and we're going to get a reset on that board. That's what's going to happen. Steve, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to note a couple of Ms. Turner Anderson's ideas. I think have some merit.
Great ideas. Yeah, the open permit report. Open permit report.
I mean, with tenure, I mean, with duration on there, like other, I mean, I know I can pull, or I'm not sure I can pull it anymore. At one time, I could pull open purchase order reports, and, one of the things on there is number of days it's been open. I mean, that's.
Yeah. So, Tim, do you have any final comments? You've heard from people, you've heard from us. So what's the next steps? That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah, I actually wrote down that the permit expiration, to contact someone when it's that long. Permit's good for 6 months. They can ask for extensions. Really, the third extension has got to be something significant to extend the permit.
Do you have a sophisticated data system, a database that can produce reports, like for instance, extension report? That sounds like another good one. How many, is it the same guys asking for extensions over and over, claiming he can't get materials when other contractors are moving?
Well, typically what happens is there's an inspection or some action within the 6 months, and that gets you another 6 months.
Okay.
So any kind of action on the permit will, from that date, you have 6 months. And
do you feel like you got enough input today from this meeting to really go make some meaningful reforms?
Absolutely.
All right. I think, Robert?
Yeah, if I could just add one thing. So another thing we've heard is, I guess when you pull the permit, you put in the amount of the work being done, and it seems that there may have fraudulently been some intentional lowball, and so I think if we're sending something out to the homeowner, I think we should probably make sure that's included, that your contractor has indicated that this is a $20,000, $40,000 project, and if they have a $90,000, $100,000 contract, that might raise some questions as well.
Excellent suggestion, yes.
Well, gentlemen, I appreciate the length of the meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for staying. Wes, any comments before we adjourn? I think we've covered everything. Delina, did we? Okay. Wes, anything from you?
Do we want to do benefits, or we're just?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. My bad. Yeah, Crystal, yeah, please. Yeah, let's do that.
We'll make
Thanks for
this
reminding-
quick and painless.
Yes, ma'am.
So last meeting, we received further direction to get a little bit more information on a couple different items. So we just want to clear all that up so that way there's better understanding for that. So Ms. Monica Thomas from USI will be able to present.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Monica Thomas with USI, and a couple of points that I want to hit on are the dental. The recommendation is to move the dental from Delta Dental over to MetLife, and that improves the benefits on that plan as well as the out-of-network reimbursement level. We also want to recommend, with the life and disability, doing a voluntary short-term disability, allowing 2 plans with 2 matching voluntary long-term disability plans. That means the short-term disability would dovetail into the long-term disability option. We also have Medicare Advantage. We recommend moving from the Florida Blue Medicare Advantage plans to the United Healthcare Medicare Advantage plans. These plans are going to have no disruption to the member as far as the benefits or the network, and it's going to be much less expensive for the retirees. And then the final recommendation is to move the FSA administration from the current vendor, which is Lockwood and Williams, over to Ameriflex.
All right. Robert, questions?
No, perfect. I think that's great. Hopefully, the feedback that we've gotten about Delta Dental has been resolved with the change to MetLife. So,
Yeah.
appreciate it.
It
Thank
was a
you.
good change. We appreciate your patience waiting for the
No
long meeting.
problem.
Thanks, Crystal.
Thank
All
you.
right. Anything else for the good of the order? Any announcements? We're adjourned.